All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another Drums and Drams live stream. Obviously, not a Thursday night. We are going live Saturday night. Had to bump the time 30 minutes. I know that the Oregon OSU game is on right now. I think we're probably at the tail end of halftime at this point. So if you're, running back and forth, or you're going to check out the live stream at the end of the game or watch the replay, totally understand. I was watching the game a second ago. Admittedly, not a huge football fan. I just don't really pay attention to it anymore. I mostly just watch UFC, if I'm being honest. But, the game was on. Sarah's out of town this weekend, so I was like, you know what? I'm going to actually sit down and watch like 30 minutes of football today. So that's what I was doing before the stream. So pretty tight nail biter there, it feels like. But I know a lot of folks are going to want to check that out and maybe catch the replay. Either way, tonight we are celebrating 10,000 live streams. Wow, that would be a lot of live streams. That's too much live streaming. 10,000 subscribers on tonight's live stream. So we hit 10,000 subs. I want to say it was a week ago yesterday. It's just, things have been busy, and I didn't go live this Thursday because I was driving back from Atlanta, where I was doing a short barrel pick. So we'll talk about what we picked at short barrel on tonight's live stream. I've got both of those samples here, so I can give you guys like some quick preliminary tasting notes on those. Those are going to be dropping at the end of January. So we're way ahead right now on barrel picks. We are full up until the end of January as far as drops go. We can talk about what's coming up. I'll taste the upcoming Hard Truth. I've got a little bit left here from our sample from the barrel pick. That's dropping next Friday along with Green River. I have no more Green River left. Matt Porter tasted the last of that about a week ago on his live stream, and he loved it. He said it was the best thing he's ever had, and it was better than the 2008 George T. Stagg he had right before it. I mean, that's exactly what he said. No embellishments from me on that one, I promise. Okay, real quick before we get into it, you saw the thumbnail. The thumbnail changed 3 different times because I had some extra bottles show up today. Thank you, Justin, for sending some bottles, and thank you, Steven, for sending some great samples, and I'm probably going to get into one of those, if not 2 of those, on tonight's live stream. So tonight is basically just a bunch of preliminary reviews for new bottles. The Russell's Camp Nelson B. Thank you, Tom Morrow, for hooking me up with this, and the person that you got it from, sincerely appreciate you guys helping me out with that. Justin for the 11-year Overholt Rye and the Larson C924. And some samples. Jason, who's in here for the Heart Release. We're going to get into the Maker's Heart Release tonight and compare it to the 46 cask strength. So we just have a bunch of great new bottles to get into, and I'm excited about it. So hit that like button if you have not already, please. And if you notice the ticker scrolling across the bottom of the screen here, we do have some giveaways tonight, so check it out. I wanted to do some cool things for tonight's giveaway, and no, it's not a Russell's 15. That would be great. It would be great to give away a Russell's 15, but I wanted to give away some favorite bottles of mine, and I will retaste this one on the live stream tonight. But here's what I've got. Third place is, wow, I did an air quote with 3. I mean, I'm nailing it tonight. Third place for the drawing tonight is going to get a bottle of the Evernorth pick that we dropped a few weeks ago, the Short King American whiskey, kind of crazy pick here. Blend, it's a Bourye blend, put into a used wave stay for 6 more years. Just a really, really cool pick. So that's going to be for the third place person. Check this out. So this is one of the Driftless short barrels, and I wasn't sure if I was ever going to give one of these away, but I thought, this is a great milestone tonight to do it. So this is one of 22 bottles only from the craziest, the shortest short barrel I've ever picked, and probably will ever pick from Driftless Glen. This is about a 6.5-year bourbon at 124 proof. Just a real funky whiskey that I think is super cool. So everybody in the Patreon and the upper tier and from the pick team, they're only getting 8 ounces of this. And if I split this one bottle up amongst those people, they would all get not even half an ounce more. So instead of doing that, we're going to give away a full bottle of this tonight. So that's going to go to the second place person. And the top winner for tonight's giveaway is going to get a bottle of one of my favorite whiskeys of the year. I just did a restock on this. I've got two more on the table open, and I'll compare them maybe on this live stream, maybe not, but I'll certainly taste the one that I'm giving away because these are 2 different batches. But this is the Limestone Farms private stock. It's about a $200 to $225 bottle, depending on the market you're in. And the prices did decrease slightly recently, but if stores already purchased them at the old wholesale cost, I'm sure that they're still pretty darn expensive. So this is going to go to the top winner, and this is phenomenal, phenomenal whiskey. And I'll taste it tonight, but for those of you who have heard us talk about this and other channels talk about this, we've all been kind of getting the word out, especially on this private stock, that it's an outstanding whiskey. So those 3 bottles are the giveaways tonight. And the other thing I'm going to do is for all the winners, I'm going to put a sample of the Russell's Camp Nelson B and of the Overholt 11 Rye in those boxes. So I can fit 2 additional samples in those boxes. So every $5 entry gets you in. Venmo, PayPal is a great way to do it if you want to miss the YouTube 30% cut off the top. That information's in the description of the video. Otherwise, Super Chats in the live stream, I'll be keeping track as we go. So that's the intro. Now, I need to get something in my glass. So let's start. There's a lot of whiskey to get through tonight. I'm excited, but I'm going to have to pace it, you know. So I got to get something on my palate. And, you know, let's just go classic. Let's go... We can just kill the rest of this Eagle Rare store pick. Thanks to Tony Bag of Donuts. This is the Bourbon Junkies Lost Barrel Eagle Rare store pick. So let me know what you're sipping on tonight, guys. I know I haven't seen the chat yet. Okay. By the way, YouTube members, the $2.99 a month thing with the emojis. Number one, I'm sorry. I owe you guys a piece of content. I said that every month I wanted to put 1 piece of content on there. It might be like super unedited or whatever. Things have been really busy, and I apologize. So I'm a little behind on that. Please don't count that against me. But I have an extra emoji that I made, but a few of the members dropped off, so I don't have enough members in there to actually upload a new emoji, which is something that I told, I think Lawrence is who I told that I would make this emoji for. So Lawrence, it's ready. But but I just need a couple more members, so we'll see what happens if that ends up working out. All right. Oh, Steve Parker, new member. Awesome. Yeah, David, I had to push the stream back for, well, it was for the football game. I was like, do I push to 10? Split the difference because Sladvan said go to 9:30, so we went to 9:30. Steve Parker, new member. Awesome. Thanks, man. Now you can start throwing up all these crazy emojis. All right, Steve and Man of the Hour, thanks for the samples. We're going to get into this rare character, this PSB sample, which I've actually learned more about. And by learning more about it, I actually know less. So we'll talk about that. Jason, thanks for jumping in, man. And Jason was on the short barrel pick team, which was awesome. So much fun down there. All right, I'm going to keep scrolling, guys, try to catch up here. Mike G is on Cellar Age 23, the better of the 2, and Old Stubborn Batch 2, also the better of the 2. Nice. Okay, we're going to keep scrolling. Good to see everybody. Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys, for being here. I can't get to everybody's names because I don't want to... That'll take forever. But, all right, Brian Walsh. Let me get you in here for one. Thank you, man, for starting us off. Tom, what's up? Man of the Hour with the Camp Nelson B hookup. Thank you. Been a UFC fan since 93. That's before I was born, man. Okay, keep scrolling, keep scrolling. Thank you guys for the congrats on the 10K. I really appreciate it. And, you know, it's been slow going. This has been probably the slowest growing Whiskey Tube channel of all time, but that's okay, you know. We are just over 4 years old now. It was 4 years a week ago. So... You know, I started making videos maybe a month or 2 into that. I didn't immediately start once I made the channel. I had been thinking about the channel for about 6 months. You know, like probably around March. No, probably around April and May of 2020 was when I started to think about this channel in a serious way. I was into whiskey before it, all Scotch. Started just dipping my toe into American whiskey when COVID hit. And then I had the idea to make a Scotch channel called Drums and Drams earlier into 2020. And then it took me many, many months of coming to terms with the fact that I was not going to get back on tour as a percussionist anytime soon for me to actually make the damn channel and get it off the ground. So that's kind of how that all worked. But 4 years later, and this is a really significant part of my life. So thanks, guys. Andrew Campbell, another YouTube member. Thanks, man. Matthew, yeah, man. 8 ounces of liquid gold, yeah. Tom, $189 now for the private stock, guys. That's a great price. It's expensive, but it's effing good whiskey. Too early to drop an F-bomb on the stream, you know? We're not into the late night hours yet. We got to get to it 10 p.m. at least before we can do F-bombs. All right, casket salesman. Tom Snyder, thanks. Sorry, I put that on the screen, didn't say anything. Congrats on 10K. Thank you, man. Casket salesman. I'm trying to make sure I get you guys in here. Congrats on 10K. You earned it. 25. Yeah, 25 is going to take a little while, maybe. Although we might be... I'm going to have a Zoom meeting with somebody about maybe helping the channel out with some YouTube shorts, like me being able to repurpose things into some YouTube shorts, which would be very helpful, you know, just to get more content out. So that's one thing looking into the future. And sorry to give all this, like, you know, debrief at the front of the stream, but whatever. Looking into the future, I'm going to be, you know, using Fiverr a little bit to hire people, maybe to help with some thumbnail type things. I just want to start elevating the channel. So I'm talking to somebody on Patreon, Adam, about some merch, and just I want to get this stuff finalized. I want to up all the quality of everything on the channel. You know, get a few things out of my hands so I can focus more on what you know, on the picks, and then just producing content exclusively. John, no, the YouTube match is done. The YouTube match is done. I think it ended the other day, maybe. I can't remember when. Jason, man, thanks for hanging, and thanks for the super chat. We picked some great barrels down there. Mike, congrats, Cam. Looking forward to future content and barrel picks. Sorry I missed the short barrel pick. Yeah, man, but I'm glad you're safe. I'm glad everything's okay on your end. Got you in for 10. Yeah, man, future barrel picks. We'll get you in on one. I promise. So the short barrel was good. We went through, I think, maybe 12 barrels. Maybe it was more than 12. Maybe it was like 14. It wasn't crazy, though. We didn't go crazy. What's up, Christine Vasco? And Lee Griffin, congrats on 10K. Thanks, man. All right, so I know there was a massive influx of super chats here. Let's get through these real quick, and then I think I've got 3 more in the stream, and then we'll get going on a bunch of awesome new whiskeys to be reviewed here. So you're saying you're a late bloomer. Sean Holgrave. Oh, man. I didn't say that. You said that. Randall Erickson, thanks, man. 4 entries. Got my bottle of the Limestone Reserve. Haven't opened it yet, so looking forward to your review. Awesome. We'll talk about it. Oh, my God, Jason. Oh, dude, the transmission's going to cost you $6.5. Oh, my good Lord. Woo. Oh, geez. I'm sorry to hear that, man. Sladvan, the most positive, what's a name that starts with P? Instead of negative Nancy, you're positive Peter. I don't know. Daniel Nichols, thanks, man. Cheers, Cam. Congrats on the 10K. Appreciate it, man. All right, got you in for 2. I think I'm caught up now. Okay, so I'll get to the Venmos here in a sec, but let's get into some reviews. Cheers to you guys. All right, so let's start off with something maybe a little lower proof of the bunch. I think the best place to go is the Baker's 7-Year High Rye. All right. And does anybody in the chat know, I believe this to be true, but can someone check me on this? Is this the same mash bill? Is it 673310 or something? Is this the same mash bill as OGD? Like the new 16-year? Does anybody know in the chat? Easton Oliver says, congrats, sipping on some River Roots Rye 1 tonight. That's still selfishly, like, my favorite bottle of the year, which I would never put on a list. But just for me, as the first barrel pick, and honest to God, maybe my favorite MGP rye I've had this year, except for the 2 of the Brook Hills. The 2 Brook Hills spank that rye, but that's okay, because they're epic. But that's one of my favorites, man. So enjoy that pour. Guy, what's up? Congrats on 10K. Thanks, man. Okay, I'm going to look this up then. Baker's High Rye 7-year mash bill. Let's see real quick. I just want to see. Is it actually disclosed? Just a quick Google doesn't tell me exactly. Single barrel high rye. At any rate, that's what I've got in my glass. We're going to start with this because it's 107 proof. Yeah, it doesn't actually say in this description. Maybe in the press release it did. But it's not the Dr. Kobe. Thank you for the super chat. It's not the actual. That's like the original Baker's mash bill. Got you in for 4 here. That's the original Baker's mash, but I think this one is maybe the same as the OGD. Anyways, correct me if I'm wrong, but not sure. Speaking of the OGD 16, people did not listen, it's expensive. And I tried to say in my review that the price point, I didn't know if it was 150 or 200. It seemingly is 200. I think 200 is a little much for that. At the proof especially, the max I'd want to see that is $10 per year, so 160. 200 is high. And here's my formula for the OGD 16 very quickly. It drinks like an MGP product. I said that in my review, like a creamsicle, like very candied orange, MGP, old school type profile. And if you thought about an MGP profile like that, it's more of like a 12-ish year MGP is what I would say from like 2019. That's the profile that I get from it. Those bottles should be about like $120-ish dollars, right? This is a little older at 16 years, and it's a Jim Beam product that's kind of off profile. So to me, it's like for the uniqueness factor, maybe I would take that $120 estimate and add $20 more because it is totally unique. It is a little bit older, even though it's a lower proof. That gets me up to $140, $150-ish dollars, and then I don't see it up to $200. So a lot of people have said some nasty things in DMs and on comments on the video, which is hilarious and just being difficult. But I think the video, I even said, I'm a sucker for OGD. It's because the old OGDs, like the Dusties, I'm such a fan of. I like the profile of the 16. It just reminds me of like a Michter's product, like a Michter's 10-year, where you're like, well, this is low proof, but the profile is really good, and it's too expensive. That's kind of what the OGD 16 is to me. So anyways, just to kind of recap that, let's get on to this Baker's High Rye. Now, this one is 7 years, 9 months. They are single barrels, and again, 107 proof or 53.5%. Yeah, Steve, I don't think that's right exactly. That's the old mash bill, or the normal mash bill. Mary S., thank you for the super chat. Congrats on 10K. Thank you. Got you in for 2 entries here. Okay. Very lively fruit on the nose of this Baker's High Rye. So this, very similar to the OGD 16. It doesn't smell like a Beam product on the nose. I actually think even just regular Baker's 7 is probably the least Beam profile of a Beam product. Like, it's much less nutty, much more like red fruit forward. And then the Baker's 13, same thing. Like, as you get higher and higher age on the Baker's mash bill, I think even less nuttiness appears, and it gets more and more fruity and more leathery. I really love Baker's 13. I just wish it was a higher proof. But this is even less beamy than the other Baker stuff. This is all bright fruit notes, kind of like the OGD 16, where you smell it and you're like, this doesn't smell like Beam. Whiskey BS, this is 7 years, 9 months. So yeah, top note of this is super sweet, like almost a little tropical fruit note here. It's a bright, kind of slightly youthful vanilla note, a teeny bit of like a grainy vanilla. But right underneath that, it's all these like rich, bright fruits, super sweet. Maybe like a juicy fruit gum note in here too. Now, underneath it, you do feel the rye spice on the nose. I think in this case, it's very peppery and tingly, especially younger high rye products. Those rye notes don't come off as flavorful. You need more oak influence. You need more time in the barrel to add more flavor and aromatics to the spice notes. That's just kind of what I think across the board. This only being 7 years, 9 months, it's still very peppery and like, yeah, bright and white peppery on the nose. Huh. Okay. The palate shows a lot more beam influence than the nose did. It is, wow. Total 180 for me on the palate. You would never. So this is a whiskey where the nose and the palate are very disconnected. That's not always a bad thing. In this case, I think it's kind of a bad thing, only because the expectation that this sets on the nose is that this is going to be kind of unlike any other bean product you've had. That's what I felt. And then I get to the palate and I'm like, well, this is kind of familiar territory a little bit. I will say, I'm in the finish now. This is a long, long finish. Very spicy, and it's just peppery dancing on your tongue. The finish goes on forever. So if you like a good finish on a whiskey and you don't mind a beam profile, this is a really, really solid option for you. But I do kind of find that odd. Like the nose is all these bright tropical fruits. The palate has like brown, like mulchiness. It's similar to this. So I've got the 10-year Overholt pulled out because in just a bit we're going to compare it to the new 11-year. But this 10-year last year, I'm stealing this note from somebody, whoever said it last year, a mulchiness. I find a lot of that on this Baker's. There is a lot of wood on the palate too, but it's kind of brighter, younger oak notes. And now that I'm acclimated to it, it's a little less harsh on the palate. Man, it's still intense though. But a teeny bit less harsh, and a little bit more of a caramelized thing is coming through, but still kind of a peanut shell thing going on here. And I think it's actually more than the normal Baker's. So the nose, very far from beam, further than Baker's 7. The palate, closer to beam nuttiness than the Baker's 7. So kind of disjunct. It is a single barrel. These are definitely going to vary from bottle to bottle, of course. Is it a recommend? I don't know. I'd have to put this next to some other beam products to figure that out. Gut instinct for me on this is maybe not a recommend. I actually, you know what? I think the best comparison is this. Because this is a bourbon rye blend. And the composite mash bill is probably going to be pretty darn close. I don't have the number, memorized for this bourbon rye blend. But the proof is a little higher. The price is lower. Wow. Nose-wise, the high rye does jump out of the glass a little bit more. Again, those bright tropical fruit notes. I love the nose. The nose is so unique on the high rye. Nose on the bourbon rye blend. Darker, a little duller actually, but more round, a little bit more full. But the proof does not show on the bourbon rye blend. If I had these blind, I would think that the high rye had a higher proof, and that's because probably of the high rye content. It depends on what you value in your whiskey. Let me do one more sip of the high rye. The Knob Creek Rye blend is just so much fuller and more kind of balanced, I think, across the board. Baker's is a spicy biatch. It's 9:59. We can almost say the B word. We're almost in late night hours. You know, I think this is an interesting bottle. I like the regular Baker 7 better, I think. It doesn't have as long of a finish. The finish on this is nuts. So if the things that I talked about sound appealing to you, especially with regards to the finish, the palate being a little more beam focused, a little nuttier, if those things sound appealing to you, then this would be something to pick up. What I wish they would do is get rid of this. We don't need a 7-year version of this product. I don't think it helps anybody. Beam's coming out with so many products. Like tonight, how many Beam products are we tasting tonight? One, I've got the Little Book. I've got the new Overholt. Like tonight is going to feature a lot of Beam, and that's because they continue to release LEs like crazy. And I'd rather, instead of seeing this as a 7-year base product, I know Baker's traditional thing is that it's a Baker's 7, and then they've got the Baker's 13. Maybe you make just a Baker's 13 release with the high rye, or maybe you do a Baker's 10. Like, give us a little more age. Give us some differentiation in the market, especially within your own portfolio. Like, how many 7-year products is being put out? Knob Creek 7 rye, Baker's 7, Baker's 7 high rye. I think we're too centered around this age statement that's not really doing it any favors. So, I don't know. I'd love a 10 or 11-year version of this, you know? So we can let that one go. Yeah, man, I agree. I think the Knob Creek Barai is pretty underrated. Like, to me, it's not going to win any awards. Excuse me, but as a shelfer, I think it's like $45 or something. If you're a Knob Creek person and you buy Knob Creek as a shelfer, that Barai blend is far and away like the best value at the price point, I would say. I love the 12-year, but you know, you're paying up for the 12-year. You're paying $20 more probably. Yeah, Dan, that's a great call, man. Bookers are 6 or 7 years old. Yeah, they really focus on that age statement, and I just don't think it's doing them any favors. Oh, man, Knob Creek 12 cast strength was one of the best releases they've ever done. And it's crazy that it was only 12 years old. I don't know if there was older stuff in those blends, but I've only tasted the 120.5 version. I thought that bottle was so insanely good, but secondary reflects that. Secondary is like $375 on those right now. And it pains me to pay that much money for a Knob Creek product. I just have to be honest. What's up, Toshi? Evening Cam and all. Congrats on 10K. Looking forward to more. Hey, I've heard that before. Good to see you, man. I think I saw a super chat come in. I'm going to get to the Venmos in a sec. Speak of the devil. Sarah just texted me. Oh, gosh. Oh, is that true? Someone's going to drop an 11-year Russell's pick? I don't know. All right. Let's see. What else? I want to make sure I didn't miss anything in chat. Yeah, please hit that like button, guys. Thank you, Philippe, for saying that. Please do hit that like button. And subscribe if you haven't already. Let's keep the channel growth going here. Travis, Beam needs to do 2 expressions. 12 to 15-year store picks. I am so with you on that. At $99, knowing Beam and the expansion of their portfolio and like how they're, you know, kind of like stratifying it and everything, I feel like if they did a 15-year pick at 120 nowadays, they'd probably bring that cost up. Like, I could see them wanting 120 to 150 for those picks, which would suck, but unfortunately, it would be understandable in today's market. But it'd be great if they could center all of those at 99 and reopen the pick program to older ages. That would be cool. And then 12-year cask strength at 89. I think the 12 cask was 99 when it came out, I want to say. So I guess there's some precedent to that. It's tough, man. Jab got the raw end of the deal. Just finished cooking and cleaning tonight. Need to trade in my better half for a new one. I hope I'm not on the TV and that she didn't hear me say that. Sorry, EJ. Damn, donated 50 to you. Should have just bought a Knob Creek Barai. Sorry. I'll refund you if you want. I promise. Speak of the angel, says Rich. Happy wife, happy life. Amen. Trust a second timer. There you go. A man with experience. Jason just saw Knob 18 for $169 in South Carolina. Might have to buy. Again, those are just... I wish there was more proof on those. They're just a little underwhelming. At that price, I would just get... If you're in any local groups, get into a local group, and at that price, just find a 14 or 15-year pick from 5 years ago and buy that instead. It's just better whiskey. All right. Yeah, the Knob Creek Bourye just has a little bit more going on for me, so move these glasses out of the way here. So I think what I'm going to do next I think next I'm going to get into the Little Book Infinite. So Jake, I bought this off of someone who's been a great supporter of the channel. Jake, thank you, man, for this sample. This is 119.3 proof. You guys have probably already seen online that this is the blend of all the different ages, and it's kind of like the Jim Beam equivalent to Wild Turkey Generations. Okay. Surreal says, how is Russell's 15? It's outlandishly good. I'll stand by the fact that I think it's, not a perfect whiskey, but it's still top 2 of the year. Because top 1 and 2 of the year, Russell's 15 and Old Fitz VVS 13. And I'm still going to argue that point. Until I have to taste them side by side and make a decision, I'm just going to keep saying this. Have you had the new, what is that? The new Booker's blend? Is it the Booker's or Booker's? What batch would that be? 2024 03? Oh no, that's the Master Distiller's blend. Is that the 04 then? I don't even know, man. No, I don't really drink any Booker's anymore or review them, unfortunately. I have the Booker's Reserves. I'm not tasting it tonight. I have a sample of it because I'm going to do a video on the Little Book, the Booker's Reserves, and the Jim Beam 20 year. So I'm going to do kind of a 3-part triple review video of just these because, again, Jim Beam's putting out so many limiteds. I need to just do 3 of them in one video so that I can make room for other videos. Jeb, I love you, dude. I'm just now seeing... I just saw what you sent me. That's hilarious. Dr. Kobe says, my FOMO finally won, and I caved on a Russell's 15 for... What? How much did you pay? Because, honestly, it's worth a lot to me. So Tom had this Infinite in Lexington at Liquor Barn, had Russell's for 25 1-ouncers. It's not terrible for the Russells. Mike G's got one of these on the way. Okay. Suck it. Oh. I didn't. I'm glad I didn't say that out loud. I thought it was a typo. Oh, God, guys. Oh. So how many times... So this has happened with Fremunda. This has happened with Suggandese. What else has this happened with? Where I just don't get it and it goes over my head. Oh! All right. Little Book Infinite on the nose. Very, very flat to me. It's interesting. It's like there's potential here on the nose, and there are very dark notes to it. It is kind of like dry, dark fruits. It's a little bit plummy. There's a little bit of a blackberry kind of vibe to it. Yeah. Definitely still a spicy pie crust thing going on, kind of above those dark fruits on the nose. You can sense that there's age here, but it's not like overtly smacking you in the face that it's an old whiskey. I, I'll taste it first before I say what I might say on the nose. So here we go. Palate's pretty good. Palate's very oaky. Kind of strange development on this one. Oh, the finish is nice. Well, the finish is great on this. That is an oak leather fiesta in your mouth. Damn, that is a great finish. It's kind of rare to find a whiskey that is so underwhelming everywhere else, flavor-wise, and then the finish does this. Wow. I mean, that's a crazy good finish, and I'm hoping that the next sip builds on that and the palate feels more substantial, because the first sip on the palate was not very good, but it was still better than the nose. The nose on this is tragic, I think, in my opinion. It does build on itself, but it's kind of dry on the front of the palate. Very dry. Yeah, super dry right now, mid-palate. And now the finish is starting. So much great dark chocolate going on here, too, in the finish. The spice is now just ramping up slowly. All the oak and the leather notes are building. Jim Beam funk. Wow, if only the rest of this whiskey was good. So I'll go back to what I was thinking about saying on the nose for this one, which is that it feels like, and this, I know this is a blend of a lot of different ages, so it's like I'm cheating by saying this. It feels like somebody put a blend together that didn't work, and things just canceled other things out in the blend. That really comes across on the nose, and I would say it comes across almost as much, if not just as much, on the palate, too. And then the finish is freakishly good. So credit where credit's due for this one on the finish. But to me, this is an easy pass. Easy pass. Even at SRP, which I believe is like 180 to 200 or so. Just thinking about other, you know, I mean, now that Beam has so many freaking limited releases, any of the Hardin's Creeks, Boston, Claremont, Frankfurt, Jacob's Well, or the 211, I would probably prefer over this. They're maybe not as oaky in the finish, and even on the palate to some degree, but at least they're going to be more cohesive. This is just not cohesive, doesn't really work together. Yeah, coming back to the nose, it's just nothing about this works except the finish. Okay, well, I'm going to pour this back. So there will be a full review of this bottle with the Booker's Reserves and with the Jim Beam 20. I know the Jim Beam 20 is maybe a little less relatable. Very few bottles of that came out as part of the Bardstown collection. Maybe something like 600 or so. But it's a fun whiskey. It's the oldest Jim Beam has ever actually put out, so I'm going to put that in there too. Have I missed any super chats in the live chat? If not, I'm going to start chipping away at the Venmos. Thank you guys for all the support here. I think I'm good. Mary was the last one, and yes, same on the spreadsheet. Let's see. Make sure I'm at the starting line here for all the super chats tonight. Okay. Calvin, thank you for the super chat, man. Got you in for 2, I think, right? Yep, says cheers to 10K. Thank you. Booker's infinitely overpriced, says Jeb. That's funny. Dan, a good video topic would be about how all the legacy distilleries are doing so many LEs and which ones are worth buying. That's yeah, you could probably do like an 8 to 10 minute talking head video where it's not necessarily a tasting of all the bottles, but just kind of a debrief on what's happening in the market. That's a good idea. I'm going to think about that. John, Cam, where do you stand on Scotch? Mood pour? Do you regularly drink it? I don't regularly drink it anymore, but it's just because there's too much whiskey to taste on the American side. But it's not necessarily a mood pour for me. If I could drink more Scotch, I would drink more Scotch. If I could drink more whiskey, I would drink more whiskey. But just physically, it's not a good thing for me to drink more whiskey, you know. So I try to limit what I have, especially with doing barrel picks and stuff. So I'm streaming less on the channel now, just as a result. JL says, cheers, Cam. Thank you. Get you in for 2. Easton Oliver, so pass on it at 200. Yeah, easy pass for me on 200. Again, like, sorry to bring up secondary again, but if you're in any local groups and people are, getting rid of 14 or 15 year Knob Creek picks, 120 proof, which is almost the exact same proof, 119.3 of the little book, you can find those Knob Creeks in local groups for like $150. It's cheaper. It's a little higher proof. I would say every single Knob Creek 14 or 15 year pick I've had, I think every single one has been better than the little book, Infinite. Except for the finish. The finish on this is very good. All right. Oh, there you go. David Drinks Dusty says those old Knob Creek picks are better Infinite. I think so. I think every single one that I've had. Max says, late to the stream, but I remember you said something about the Russell's 10-year. Here we go. Laser code LLME. Yeah. Yes. I've compared it on this stream. I had Matt Porter do it blind on his live stream. The LLME 20 is the one that I have. There are 17. There's ME 17 also. I don't know if there's a difference between them or not, but I can just say that the LLME 20 is so remarkably better than any Russell's 10 I've ever had. The color's darker. Yeah, so that's what this is right here. Yeah. It smells like it's 13 to 15 years old. It's very, very surprising. So if you see one, even if you see ME17, I'd probably buy it. I think that's probably a fair bet or safe bet. There you go. So Jason said right here, the 10-year code LLME20, so close to Russell's 13, but at a lower proof. And there's even a quality in the antiquiness of it and the dark fruitness of it that reminds me of Russell's 15 as well. Jason P says, cheers. Thanks, man. Get you in here for 2. All right. There you go, Joe Dickinson. Christine scared Cam from making any more Scotch videos. There you go. Hit me with the emojis, guys. Okay, where do we go next? How's the Ohio State game going? What's the score? Oh, you did buy it. It's ME17. I've heard that ME17 is just as good as 20. Then I've had someone else say, oh, it's just a little bit lesser than the 20. I have no clue. We're not going to get into that. I've learned my lesson, mostly. Marlon, I'm also hearing that the single barrels, some of them are LLMEs, which just means that it was bottled in May of this year. So I don't know if any of whatever went into those 10 years also went into the single barrels or not. That I do not know. OSU 28 to 22. Nice. Okay. Oh, MF is darker. Wow, Randy, really? Huh. Okay. I love my codes, Jason. What was I going to do next? I need to look at the thumbnail again so I can remember all of these bottles that I need to taste tonight. Oh, let's do something fun real quick. Too much floor whiskey. Give me just a sec. Okay, so I don't know if you guys saw I don't know how many of you watched that series on the channel I started recently, the What's That Whiskey series. which, by the way, is like probably my favorite thing that I do on the channel right now. It's just fun for me to do that. The most recent one, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen it, sorry, was the Elmer T. Lee 100th anniversary bottle. So it's Elmer T. Lee Mash Bill 2 at 100 proof for the 100th year anniversary. And so that was the reveal. I got really close to this. I said it was Rock Hill Farms. What I wanted to do tonight, because I still have a little bit of that sample left, I just wanted to compare it to regular Elmer. Yeah, and I don't have a Rock Hill Farms anymore to compare it to, so I can't do that. But just I'm going to compare it to regular Elmer and see what it's all about. What's up, Adam? Thanks, dude. He says cheers to 10K. So, Adam, I think when we met, I think when I saw you, because I see this picture on live streams, I feel like I didn't expect the beard. I think there was a moment in my head where I go, am I crazy? And I think that's why. Because I think I remember that picture for the YouTube, thumbnail. Thanks, bro. I got you in for 2. All right. So again, both of these Mash Bill 2, the only real difference besides the fact that they're single barrels, so they are completely fundamentally different, is that one's 10 proof points higher, which is the 100th anniversary. But that bottle also goes for, I don't know, is it $900 on secondary? And regular Elmer T is like $200 on secondary. Both of those are astronomically high compared to what's in the bottle. But I have always had a soft spot for Elmer T. Lee, admittedly, and I've said that on the channel a lot. All right, so regular Elmer. I've always loved this because of the creaminess that it has. It's so rich. It does feel dense even at 90 proof. At least this barrel does. It's just like a perfect balance. And this is the best barrel I've ever had of Elmer T. It's like a perfect balance to me of integrated syrupy honey notes and also that like classic fruit syrup, cherry fruit syrup that you get from Buffalo Trace. And then also a little bit of breadiness going on in here, a little bit of a bakery thing. It's crushable. It's great. If it was regularly available at this quality for $50, my God, we could all be happy just as a daily sipper. So let's go now to the 100th and color difference. Let's see. Yeah, pretty noticeable color difference here. Much more intense on the nose, much spicier. Much spicier, but, also a little tighter on the nose, I would say. So it's very, very upgraded in one way, but also I kind of like the approachability of the regular Elmer in another way. But I also think this one is a freakishly good single barrel, and maybe this 100th is like a normal single barrel for the 100th bottlings. But let's see how the palate goes. Huh. It's interesting. I kind of like the regular Elmer a little bit better than the 100th. Tell me if you guys have noticed this, and I don't know how many data points there really are for this, because Mash Bill 2 is a pretty boxed in mash bill from Buffalo Trace. Like the highest proof Mash Bill 2 that you get is Blanton straight from the barrel. Besides that, you get your Rock Hill at 100. You get Blanton's at 93. Blanton's Gold, I guess, 103. I forgot about Blanton's Gold. You get your Blanton's Gold at 103, your Rock Hill at 100, your Blanton's at 93, your Elmer T at 90, and your Hancock's at 88.9. So it's a very narrow range of proof points on Mash Bill 2. And I always wonder, why do they avoid that upper range of proofs before you get to Blanton straight from the barrel? Like a 110, a 115. I think honestly, like, I like Mash Bill 2 at a lower proof. I think it's creamier. I think it's sweeter. It brings the spice notes of Mash Bill 2 into the fold more, into the honey notes. Because I think what happens as these things proof up, and none of them are particularly old either, which is another, I would imagine, another problem that contributes to this. As they proof up, the spice notes start to stick out of the profile. And it's tingly on the palate, but it doesn't feel integrated into the whiskey. Yeah, so that was the 100th. And here's back to the regular Elmer. But, like, it is less spicy and less intense on the palate. Of course, it's a lower proof. But I'm starting to wonder if there is, like, if that is the reason they don't put out something in that no man's land range of proofs between 103 and basically 122-ish, which would be straight from the barrel. Maybe it's because they don't want to add more to the portfolio and the whiskey's already in high demand, or maybe it's because the whiskey doesn't sit well there for the given age ranges that they're in. I'm not sure. Like, straight from the barrel is a different experience. Everybody wants barrel proof. Everybody wants Blanton's. That's an easy sell. And people are much more forgiving of, like, issues with whiskeys at barrel proof, because you're like, the purists just want the barrel proof and they give brownie points for that, you know, and I think they forgive a little more on that. But I don't know. It's just interesting question, I think, for me at least. Maybe it's just I'm kind of thinking too much about it, which I probably am. But Jesse, thanks again for the sample, man. That's just a great Elmer barrel. Lee's got one from 2017. I bet that's a killer bottle, dude. Egg Shen says maybe the normal whiskey drinker likes lower proof like the normal beer drinker likes. Yeah, I mean, that's definitely true. But I just mean... And they're covered, right? They're covered with their ancient age and their Blantons that they're hunting for and stuff like that. I think they are covered. So it's less about the normal whiskey drinker in this case, because it's not like if they release a new Mash Bill 2 product, none of us are going to find it anyways. Like, none of us find Rock Hill Farms or Elmer T anyways. Like, so it's not like we're going to find whatever 110 proofer they decide to make. But I just wonder if there's like an artistic flavor decision that they're making behind the scenes to not release products in that proof range, or if they just feel like they don't need to for their portfolio. Dr. Kobe says, do you think distilleries water their bourbon strictly for more units to sell? I think it's a combination of pretty much all things you can think of. I think, yes, proofing to sell more product is absolutely a thing. I mean, think about the increase, the margin increase that you have by adding water, which is like essentially zero cost. You know what I mean? Compared to everything else going into the bottle. Imagine the percentage increase just from adding water and saying, well, we just bottle it at 92, you know? But I think there probably are people out there that really do believe that releasing something at a certain proof is better. And then in the case of, like, a lot of these NDPs that come out, like I just did the River Roots Rye, $50 rye video. 8 years, MGP rye, 100 proof at $50. Like, they made that decision not because of money. Like, they made that decision because people wanted a lower proof product, because everything was single barrel cask strength in the gift shop. And people are like, hey, I just want something to mix. You know, I want a cocktail mixer, or I want, you know, something to go over ice, and like, I don't like a hot whiskey or whatever. So they made that decision. But I don't think that's a money decision for them, because they proofed it down, but then the amount of money they subtract, like, it feels like it was all relative to how much water they added is how much they reduced the price. Wow, Clay's got a couple ETLs circa 2013. That's freaking awesome, man. Very cool. Okay, let me scroll up. I don't know if I missed some super chats. I got Adam. I got Jason, so I missed... here we go. B. Walsh, what's up, man? Appreciate your well-rounded reviews. Let me get you in first before I keep going. In for 4. Always feel like I can trust your palate, as it so often seems my own agrees. Thanks, man. Yeah, I've been experimenting recently with a little bit of like shorter form content, some of those like 5-minute reviews, just to see what people think of that stuff. And I think a lot of people are into the buy or pass in under 5 minutes thing for bottles like the Angel's Triple Oak. That seems to be doing well. But I also like getting into the weeds a little bit and doing a 10-minute video. So, yeah, man, thanks. It's there are a lot of different people you can go to for reviews. And back when I was watching a lot of reviews, I remember always trying to find people my palate aligned with, and so back in the day, it was mostly Mash and Drum, and Matt ADHD Whiskey. So those would be the people that I watched and whose palates I dialed in with, and learned a lot there. Okay. Randy says 146 watching, only 79 likes. Smash the like button, people. Thanks, man. Yeah, hit that like button, guys, if you wouldn't mind. Yeah, so the new Remus. Oh, you're Jason's talking about the Remus Volstead. Yeah, so I brought that to the bottle share. Great bottle. But the new Remus Gatsby is like 105 proof or something. So I'm gonna have to be looking out for the new Remus Gatsby. Higher proof. We've all wanted it. Let's see if it delivers. Alrighty. Brandon, same issue we have at Evernorth, frankly. Not everyone is an enthusiast and wants barrel proof. Sold a ton of Bourbon 5 and 110 Amburana to non-traditional drinkers. There you go. It's just a smart business decision. And it's smart business. It's smart marketing to appeal to a different crowd. That crowd's going to tell their friends about it who are also not going to be enthusiasts. It's just it's helpful to have the different proof points. I think when it's most bothersome is when, like, I don't know, like name... What would a brand be that, like Michter's 10? I wish Michter's 10 was higher proof. Like that is frustrating to me. But also non-enthusiasts chase that product too, so it's tough. But it would be great to have that at a higher proof. Joe says comes out next weekend. Cam, what comes out next weekend, Joe? Art Sanchez, thank you, man. Congrats on 10K. Thanks, Art. Got you in for 4 here. Sam, no, I haven't tried the Penelope Estate. Adam, when I stopped by in Georgia, Adam, was in the chat a second ago. I don't know if he's still here, but he had one of those, and I can't remember if it was open or not. So maybe if it's open, maybe he has an opinion. Oh, the Gatsby's in Ohio. Oh. Comes out next weekend. Oh, sweet. Okay. Well, the last one, dude, Joe, the last one sat on shelves here in Ohio, which that's how I found one. I'm like, I walked in and it's just sitting there. Didn't expect that. Rich, thanks, dude. Let me get you in. By the way, Rich, is your last name Clow or Clow? Just thought I'd ask. I figured it was Clow, but I'm not sure. In for 4, gotcha. Says you seem intrigued by short barrels. Why is that? When great whiskeys and full barrels make everyone happy and more money. Well, that's the thing, man. It's like the struggle versus. It's almost like art versus money. Like these things don't always line up. Like short barrels, oftentimes taste crazy. They sometimes they can go flat. The colors will get dark a lot of the time, but the palates can sometimes go flat. The proofs can drop immensely. It just depends. And those short barrels can often be disappointing. But the ones that I think we all geek out about are the short barrels that shoot up in proof, sometimes into the 140s and 150s. They'll shoot up in proof. There'll be like 40 bottles in the barrel. The whiskey looks like coffee, and it tastes absolutely absurd. There's like a wide range of things that can happen. But it's exciting to find those short barrels when you drill into a barrel and nothing comes out, and you're drilling like halfway up, and then you drill down below and it's just sputtering out. That is when you're like, oh shit, this is a short barrel. And then sometimes you find a gem. So those are exciting moments because the whiskey can be so freakishly good. It's so unexpectedly good. It can be some of the best stuff you've ever had in your life, and it's from a barrel that you would have never expected that from. Maybe like an 8-year product that should be around 120, and you pull it out of the barrel and it's 141, and you're like, why is this some of the best ever? And it's just because the barrel leaked or the evaporation was high or whatever, and everything got cooked into the whiskey a little bit more. What's up, Phil? Picked up a Limestone private stock. My palate thanks you. It's so good, man. So good. Adam. So Adam was talking about the Penelope Estate. Says, I'm here. It was. Sorry, dude. So much to try. Oh, no. You don't have to shoot me a sample. No. Sam was asking. About it. So what did you said something else here? But I really like it. Penelope stuff is so good in that 100 to 105 range. Okay. So Sam, sounds like it's good, man. Kagan says, going to an Empire Rye tasting while in Brooklyn next week. Kings County Cask Rye is one of my favorites, so I'm excited to try other New York ryes. I'm dreadfully unfamiliar with New York ryes, I would say. Kings County is very hit or miss for me, but when it hits, it really hits. Adam, did I ever send you the list of that blind I sent you? I think I did that blind, Adam. I think I did it like the day it got here on a stream. Yeah, because these are drank down. Okay, Joe, let me get this in here, man. I got to get on to the next whiskey, guys. So many super chats. I thank you so much. I have so many Venmos to get to. The support is outlandish tonight. Holy crap. Joe says, since you're not drinking much scotch these days, throw in some Springbank samples. I will. If you win, I don't have much Springbank. I have, and if you don't have the Hazelburn 15, I'll throw that in. But I can throw in a 10 and a 15. I don't have much. The cask strength up there is nearly empty. So you can only drink whiskey from one American distillery, one Scottish for the rest of your life. Who are you picking? Heaven Hill, as much fun as the Elijah Craig catastrophe was, the laser code stuff. People think I hate Heaven Hill. Heaven Hill's my favorite distillery. Oh, man, but Turkey, you know what? Turkey's growing on me, but I think by and large, Heaven Hill is my profile. And then Scotch distillery. Glendronach, probably. But like older stuff, like not the new, like, when Billy Walker left, and they took off from the label, whatever it was, the chill filtering, like all that stuff, like the 18s that I've got that were like 20 some years old when the distillery shut down, that era, Glendronach and Heaven Hill is what I would pick. Rob, working on this. I emailed Darren today to see what we can cook up. Adam says MGP and Brooklottie. MGP is a good call, man. Especially old MGP. And Brooklottie is a freaking good call, of course. 31-29 Ohio State. How much time left? All right, let's keep going. It's time to get on with the show. Let's dive into. Let's do it. Main event-ish. There's so much to get through. No, you know what? We're not going to go there yet. Sorry, I don't mean to tease anybody. We got to talk about short barrel. We got to taste the short barrels. And we also need to taste this. So let's go here next. Good Lord Almighty. Hey, guys, so quick plug, if you don't mind. There's 155 of you in here. There's probably a lot of Patreon members hanging out tonight. That platform, Patreon, even more than YouTube. Like, YouTube is where the videos come out and the live streams happen. Patreon is the platform that allows this channel to continue existing. So I would just encourage anybody in here, if you're thinking about wanting to try some of our barrel picks, which we're doing, basically 2 to 3 barrels per month we're dropping. And it's made it, so far they've all made it through the $5 tiers. But you can, $10 tier is a real safe bet at this point. And the upper tiers are capped so that everything will make it to the $10 tiers unless it's a short barrel. If you're considering trying to check out barrel picks, if you want to be kind of involved in a great whiskey community, we have a Discord that is probably the most active Whiskey Tube Discord, besides like maybe the Junkies, because they have 2,000 members and we have 350. Our Discord is always going, full of really great people and great enthusiasts. So if you would just consider supporting the channel on Patreon, $5 or $10 a month, I promise you, like some of the guys in the chat here on Patreon, and they can probably attest to the fact that the community there is unbelievably supportive. And I feel very lucky to have everybody in the Patreon right now. We're at about 350 or so paid members. Totally life-changing for me. And yeah, it'd be great to see you over there. So all right, so very quickly, Oregon's in field goal range. This is the upcoming Hard Truth pick. It's dropping next week. I wish I could taste the Green River, but Matt Porter drank the last of it and said it was the best thing he's ever had in his life. If you saw that stream, you know that's not true. But this is the Hard Truth pick, 5-year, aged in a spiral cut barrel, which adds some really great caramel apple notes to the whiskey. 126.6 proof. This is going to be $65, so crazy affordable. On the nose, super sweet. Like I said, the spiral cut barrel adds caramel apple. It smells like a caramel apple on the nose. Hint of a root beer note, hint of a cola note, but it's not the prevalent thing. The prevalent thing is definitely caramel apple. If there is a cola influence, it would be more of a ginger ale note, I would say. Fresh cherries on the nose. Kind of like a funky, overcooked, like a little bit of a funky peach note almost in here. No, that's not quite right. Something else. Maybe some sort of strawberry-ish kind of thing. I don't know. Very fruity and bright, but also very caramelized as well. Big front of the palate. Super intense. No traditional rye herbal notes to this, even though this is a Hard Truth sweet mash rye. The sweet mash adds all of those kind of fresh fruit characteristics to the whiskey. It's very intense up front. So if you like some proof, you like something to hold your attention, this is going to do it. I'm getting a nice vanilla bean note mid-palate. Wow, that's a very intense whiskey, but it doesn't taste like a rye to me. I know that's such a common thing to say, oh, it's a bourbon drinker's rye. It feels like a rye with how intense it is, but flavor-wise, it doesn't have the rye flavors that you would expect. Just a really, really nice whiskey. And the finish is very caramelized. So, again, spiral cut barrel, if you guys don't know what that is, Google ISC, which is Independent Stave Company. Google ISC spiral cut barrel, and you can see what the inside of the barrel looks like when it's cut out. So the whiskey is exposed to fresh wood in the barrel because they char it first and then they cut it out. So some of that is exposed to fresh wood on those cuts, and then the parts of the barrel that are still sticking out from the spiral cut are charred, right? And so this whiskey actually takes time. When we were talking to Brian, the master distiller, it takes years for it to balance out. The first few years in a spiral cut makes the whiskey really imbalanced and sludgy, and then everything starts to come together when I think that balance of fresh wood exposure versus charred wood exposure rounds out over time. And that's evident here. Like, you can feel the two different profiles of the whiskey coming together in the glass. The very caramelized notes and then the very fresh fruit notes. Yeah. $65. It's a crazy, crazy value on this. So also shout out to Ryan Alves at Bourbon Outfitter. The best logistics in the game and the best pricing, honestly. Yeah, David says Matt was talking about it last night. Yeah, I gave Matt Porter the Green River pick after he drank the craziest the craziest whiskeys ever, including George T. Stagg. Oh wait. So it was hilarious. I did it on purpose. He was like, "I'm so sorry." I'm like, "Don't be sorry." I expected this to happen, and it was hilarious. It'll just make people not buy that pick, and then it might actually make it to the $10 tier because it is a little bit of a shorter barrel. It's only 120 bottles for that 5.5-year Green River. Okay, let's see. John says, Drums and Drams Discord is worth the price of admission. Forget the picks. Thanks, man. Yeah, I cannot believe the Discord. It's so fun in there. And it's just a lot of ball busting, and I have fun getting completely roasted pretty much every day in the Discord. Harold, congrats, you deserve way more than 10K. When's the Danny Carey cover? We'll see, man. We'll see. I got to do some more drum covers on the channel. It seems like people enjoyed that video, so I do like doing those. But we're also going to do some nerdy stuff on those too, like we have. Some nerdy music things. All right, Michael Hogan, I've bought them all, and not one is not incredible. There we go. Sorry. So we're talking about the picks. So get in here. Thanks, man. Yeah, I think we've had some real good luck with these picks so far. Okay. I'm going to scroll down here. Yeah, that's right, Travis. Ryan Alves just got engaged, guys, I think 2 days ago. So congrats to him. Breakage bottles usually between 4 to 6, but then sometimes I end up picking a few of those up because I'll use them for giveaways or I'll do other things. So there's just never a guarantee on breakage bottles. I don't want people to get used to breakage bottles being a guarantee, because as the Patreon grows also, I don't guarantee breakage bottles to people anymore, except for very special circumstances. So, if people are, if the picks make it around to getting multiples, that's really the time. I know you're buying blind. But I hope that people will trust what I say, and hopefully we build that rapport where you can trust tasting notes and stuff in the bottles. There you go, Travis. So on all of your picks, just preface the distilleries that you don't take anything more than 130 bottle barrels. That's pretty, it's pretty accurate for a lot of these things. All right, so let's get into these short barrel samples, guys. We went down there, and after we do this, we're going to go to the Russell's Camp Nelson B. So yeah, we went to short barrel, focusing in on aged MGP, either bourbon or rye. The bourbon's 36%, 11 years old, and the ryes were 11 to 12. So we were focusing in on those. We couldn't find, and at the beginning, we went through 8 barrels, 2 of each. It was a double oak bourbon, a double oak rye. These were like Green River maybe or something, some other source, Kentucky, I don't know. And then we did the MGP bourbon and the MGP rye. So 2 of each. We actually found one double oak bourbon that was pretty cool, but the palate didn't quite work. And then one of the 12-year MGP ryes was close, and one of the 11-year MGP bourbons was close. Like, one of the bourbons had a great nose, one had a great palate. It's the classic problem. But nothing screamed out to us that this is the one. So then Patrick from Short Barrel was like, hey, we got this barrel, and some people think it's kind of wacky, and I'm like, okay, if somebody says a barrel is wacky or off profile, that always means that we have to taste it, because typically that's what I gravitate towards. And that's not because I want to pick stupid, wacky barrels. It's usually because I consider them to be whiskey enthusiast barrels. A lot of stores go in to do barrel picks, and when a liquor store goes in, they're looking to sell that barrel to their customers, and not all of their customers are super educated. So they focus on high age statements and high proofs and profiles that are down the fairway. Nothing wacky. So when stores come in and do those picks, they're picking over these fairway barrels, and they leave all the outliers. I like the outliers. And so when he said that, it's like, hell yeah, let's taste this bourbon. And it's about 118 proof. Oh my God. Okay, so it's the 36 rye mash bill. It smells like something between a 36 rye bourbon and a 95.5 rye. It's extremely effervescent, and it jumps out of the glass. Most of the picks that have come out this year, of the 10 and 11 year MGP bourbons, Most are very reserved, 108 proof or so. They're super sweet, but they're kind of flat. This is popping out of the glass. It's a candied orange bomb. So kind of like the old Grandad 16 had that note. Kind of like Remus Volstead has that note, like Tumblin' Dice 11. This is a candied orange bomb. It's extremely sweet. There's an off-profile funky tobacco note on the nose of this. And I think that's what turned some people off about this whiskey that have previously tried this barrel. I think it's an amazing note. There's a high heat MGP note here. If you guys have had any of the copper and cask stuff that ages in Florida, this has a hint of that note, which is an intense leathery tobacco quality within the MGP profile. But this just smells ridiculous. Outlandishly good. I cannot believe someone didn't pick this barrel before us. But it does almost, it drinks halfway between a 36 rye and a 95.5 bourbon. This drinks like some sort of Bourye, 11-year MGP. It doesn't make any sense, really. It is 100% my favorite. Like, I like this. I actually think I like this over our Dark Arts pick. The Dark Arts pick is a little bit more of that tame, reserved sweetness. Great balance on that pick. But this profile and the way that this drinks at the proof will stand up to other things. You don't feel like you need to start your night with it. You can end your night with this. So I'm very excited about this pick. Wow. So much funky tobacco and leather. So sometimes I talk about funk on whiskeys, and I have, in many cases, referred to it as a cheesy funk or a cheesecake funk or wet rocks. This one is not that. This is tobacco funk on this one. I love it. I love it. Jason, I can't remember the word he used. Okay, so a few more super chats here. Everyday reviews and rants. Get you in here for one. Says, order came from Sealbox of Sealbox Picks. Bardstown. Oh, which Bardstown was it? Which one did you get? Because I was on the pick team for those. I'm just curious. I think Blake is sending me one of each of those, but I'm not sure. Pursuit Double Oaked and Frey Ranch and your Driftless Glen blew them away. Awesome. Should have saved my money for the next pick. So which Driftless pick? Was it the rye or the bourbon? Andrew Campbell, thank you for the super chat. Says congrats on 10K. In for 5. Been in the Patreon about a month, and it's great. Discord is full of knowledge and generous people. Thanks, man. Thanks for being there. No, it wasn't Petrichor. Oh, polarizing. Yeah, he was just referring to it as a polarizing barrel. That's what it was. I don't know how this is polarizing. I think it's unbelievably good. But again, I think he's probably talking about store owners that come in and want those fairway barrels. All right. I have to get to some Venmos now. So let's start with PayPal, because I think there's very few of those. This next one is a crazy whiskey. The second barrel we picked is pretty wild. Wow. It's a shock to the system in a very good way. All right, we got two $10 super chats from David Cohen. Thank you, David. Got you in for 2. And we got one from Joseph Foster. Is in for 2 as well. See if there's any, if you guys left a comment. Joseph says, for your channel, never really paid enough attention to symbols in Wagner before. Gave me a new way to enjoy the ring last week. Cheers. Thanks, man. Yeah, little symbol nerddom here. Very cool. And David Cohen said super chat. All right. Yeah, Joseph. Thanks, man. All right, Matt Thomas. Let me grab a couple Venmos. We're going to start working on these now. Matt Thomas is in for 2. Says $10 for 10K. Congrats and cheers. Thank you, Matt. All right. David Roback, in for 2, says inappropriate favors. Okay, way to blow up my Venmo. I'm glad it's private. Avery Piper, in for 2. Congrats on 10K, just the beginning. Here's 10 for 10. Thanks, man. Marshall, I got you in for 5. Thanks for the super chat. Party emoji there. Lawrence Chang, in for 2. Lawrence, I promise that Cavalon sample's going to show up. I'm a little behind right now, but I promise. 10 for 10K. Congrats and well-deserved. Your efforts are seen, and we're here for the road. So much more. Hashtag Team Vanilla. Hashtag Team Double Drizzle. Thanks, bro. I love it. All right, one more, and then we'll get onto some. We'll get onto this next whiskey here. Leo is in for 3. Local legend Leo says, on my way home from the crew game. We'll catch up later. Congrats on 10K. Thanks, man. All right, so we're leaving off there with Leo. Oh my God, 32-31 Oregon? Of course. Of course. All right, let's move on. So the other whiskey that we picked there, it was one of those situations where if we were going to pick one old MGP, they really didn't want us to pick another old MGP, like save that for some other pick teams. Instead, they were like, maybe you go for something else, like a double oaked bourbon or rye at a younger age. So we also tasted through some 8-year MGP rye, which was interesting, but I think kind of in a lull. So like sometimes barrels have a lull period of a few years, sort of like when people talk about aging wines, and they just kind of go through their own lull, the doldrums of that particular wine's aging, and then maybe in 3 years more, cellar time, or 3 years longer in the barrel, these things will improve. But the 8-year MGP rye that we tasted, I think it was just one barrel, was just, it didn't have like that special quality for a pick. So then we went over and we drilled I think the only barrel that Short Barrel had of a Bour rye, but it's a double oaked Bour rye. So it's a blend of Indiana and Kentucky. I don't know the proportions and I don't know the mash bills. I think Patrick's going to email me those things. I should have paid more attention to what was on the barrel when I was reading it. And it's a char 5 barrel, so heavy, heavy char. And to me, I'm not a double oak person, so it's crazy that we picked this. Char 5, brand new barrel. It's not a used barrel, and it's a Kelvin. So all of these stats are pretty cool. Bour rye, Indiana, Kentucky, char 5 Kelvin, new oak. Color, pretty darn good on this. And the note that I avoid on all double oak products is young oak. Lumber yard, lumber section of Home Depot. That oak note I do not like. Spicy, young, nasty, green oak. This does not have any of that. This just smells like maple syrup and chocolate. Like some sort of donut. Like a maple donut or a chocolate-covered maple donut or something. It's pure aroma, pure flavor, without any of the youth that jumps out. But it is very intense on the nose, I will say. And then if you get underneath that, I'm going to call 2 more notes out, because there's like a kind of a sour, fresh, tart fruit thing. So it reminds me of strawberry shortcake, and it also reminds me of fresh cherry pie underneath the maple chocolate. It's about 115. Holy shit. Wow. That is a ballsy whiskey. And it's only 115 proof. Wow. I love this whiskey. And my eyes are watering. It's very intense. But if you're a double oak person, you're going to dig this whiskey. And it's in high demand. Like, we were only going to take half a barrel, and I polled the Patreon, and 2/3 of people answered the poll, and we've already got interest in 210 bottles, which is the full barrel. So I don't know what we're going to do with this, but I'm asking for the full barrel right now. Wow. Yeah, Greg, so just the Bour rye, which for the Bour rye, I don't know how old they were. I don't know what their original barrels were. Probably char 3 or char 4, you know. And then they blended those into this new char 5 barrel. And it hasn't been in there super long, I don't think. They are going to dump this barrel for us immediately. They're either going to tote it or they're going to bottle it right away and then just store the bottles. Because they don't even have a label made for this yet. This is the very first Bourye double oaked pick that Short Barrel's ever done. So they got to get labels through the TTB. So if they do bottle it right now, they're just going to put it away and then bring the bottles down when it's time, label them, and send them out. So these are Oregon 1. Oh, man. Whew, rough. But it's kind of funny. So we picked a double oaked Bourye, and then the bourbon, the 11-year MGP bourbon that we picked, tastes kind of like an MGP Bourye. Like I was saying, it drinks a little bit more like a rye with how effervescent it is. So kind of crazy. But that seems to be the theme of the Short Barrel pick, is these like hybrid profiles that we found. Yes, Greg, that's right. So the bourbon and rye were barreled separately, blended, and put into the Char 5. Yes. The Bardstown pick, I think that's the one that I was calling the off-profile pick that we did from there. The second, the Bardstown Seal Box 2 was, I think, the more on-profile, and that one, I think, was the more off-profile. But I don't know. Christopher Ardrey, thanks for jumping in the Patreon, man. That's awesome. New Patreon member. Not sure if anybody else has tonight, but it's great to see a new name jump in. Make sure you connect your Discord. The instructions are in the pinned post in the Patreon at the top of the feed. You can check that out. Did they let you taste any of the honey finish? No, and they were... Like, we didn't ask to taste them up front, so they didn't have them ready, and they were kind of happy about it because, like, you can't proof the honey finish when you're there because there's sugar in the whiskey, and... Yeah. Joe, what's your favorite note in a rye whiskey? What are you looking for? I usually look for dark... Like, my favorite ryes are, I would say, those, like, 11 years that went around this year from MGP, which were kind of darker, earthier... More, I hate to keep using this note, but more like root beer and cola forward. Those are my favorite notes in whiskeys in general, besides vanilla cream. Steve Parker, sorry I missed this, man. Got you in for 2. Wanted to throw an additional 5 on top of my first super chat for your Evernorth and Driftless drops. They are awesome. Thanks, man. I'm glad you're enjoying them. Okay. Scroll down. Adam, Cam, is there a whiskey that's been released this year that you haven't been able to try that's high on your list? I mean, Matt, like the King of Kentucky stuff, I always like to try King of Kentucky if I can. But I think just the samples of that have gone out. So now it's, by the way, it's time for this Russell's Camp Nelson B. We still got Makers to do. We still got Rare Character to do. We've still got the Overholt Rise and the Larson C923 and the Limestone Farms private stock. So we got a lot to get through still. We might end up doing the giveaway drawing before the stream, before the end of the stream, and then just keep going with the stream and see if anybody wants to stick around. Guys, are anything you can think of? What are some high-end whiskeys this year? Like, I think I've tried most of... Oh, I am interested to some degree in the Parker's Heritage malt. And then the William Heavenhill 13 bottled in bond just dropped. So I would say I'm interested in that William Heavenhill the most. I would, but like over the Parkers, King of Kentucky. I'm just kind of going through distilleries in my brain of stuff that I haven't tasted. It's actually been, for me, with the channel and with people sending samples, it's been a great year for me to be able to taste, I would say, most of the crazy stuff that's come out this year. And including the Weller Millennium, which I would have never thought I would get to taste. I don't know. My biggest bottle I was looking forward to was the Old Grandad 16. And everybody's opinionated on that. Okay. Russell's Camp Nelson B, single rick house. Thank you, Tom Morrow, for the hookup on this, man. This is barrel proof, non-chill filtered. It states that on the front label, which is great. Matured on floor 6, so higher floors. Let's see if there's any like age ranges. I don't think there's any age ranges given for the barrels in this blend. I love Rickhouse F. Haven't had Rickhouse C. And this is now the third in the series. 120.2 proof. So I think this is the highest proof Russell's product that's ever come out. 120.2 or 60.1% ABV. Color is solid. You know, it's not crazy dark. I watched the Junkies video on this, and I thought that in that video the color looked outlandishly dark, but it's not. What's up, Matt? Thank you for all the great content. Cheers to 10K. Thanks, dude. Hope I didn't get you in any trouble, man. Got you in for 2. Jeb, so yeah, the William Heaven Hill 15, I know. I keep seeing them pop up, and they're always sold. Every time I see them, they're already gone. But this new one is bottled in bond 13. And secondary right now is like $5.75. Too much for me, given those stats. But if someone tells me it's a freakish bottle, then maybe I would consider it. Unfortunately, Dr. Kobe, I see you talk about CNF. Yeah, that's a funny comment. Unfortunately, I don't have a CNF, and I don't have any more samples of it here, so I can't compare it to the C and B right now. I did not try Westward Milestone. No. Haven't tried Stag 24B. Tom, my wife, bought the last Rick, gave it to my buddy Dan. You have it. That's right, Dan's bottle. So the guy behind her couldn't flip it. That's right. I remember you saying that. All right, so single Rick Camp Nelson B. The nose is hot. Like, kind of uncomfortably hot, to be honest. So it's only 120.2. It's just a total brown sugar bomb. And there's so much bright, peppery, menthol forward, like, spice that's coming out of here. It actually, unfortunately makes the whiskey feel kind of young. Like, I find some age notes on the nose, underneath the brown sugar, underneath this bright, spicy profile. And proofy. Like, there's ethanol. It's proofy on the nose. I find something underneath it that feels aged. But it's not immediately apparent, unfortunately. Like, CNF was so grapey and dark, and you could immediately sense that it was funky and aged. And Russell's 15 is obviously on a different planet than this stuff. The palate, though. Chewy. It's chewy, leathery brown sugar. Like turkey leather. If that, like, you know, the turkey, aged turkey leather note that you get, which is a little funkier than the Knob Creek leather, but similar in some ways. Wow, holy shit. I do not like the nose of this whiskey. It's not fun to nose. It doesn't do anything for me at all. But the palate is very good. So what I'm pouring here next to it, I mean, the finish just keeps going. What I'm pouring here next to it is the LLME 20, like the laser code batch of Russell's 10. And it's not a competition at all. The Russell's 10 nose is miles better than the Camp Nelson B. because the Camp Nelson B nose is just hot. There's literally nothing redeeming to me. I don't want to smell this whiskey, Camp Nelson B. This Russell's ME20, I could just sit and smell this whiskey all night. And obviously the palate is like totally flat in comparison because the proof is 30 points different. 30 points apart. So back to the Camp Nelson B. Let's go back to the palate now. I'm honestly, like, it has a light whiskey note to the nose of the Camp Nelson B. It's so bright and proofy and ethanol-y, it almost has the candy shop sweetness of a light whiskey on the nose. And then the palate is like, kind of reminds me of Wild Turkey Generations on the palate. Like it's got that intensity to it. The palate is so well balanced between the really old notes in the whiskey and the funk notes in the whiskey with like a more youthful, zesty citrusy spice and peppery spice that you get. And then plus add on to that 120 proof, so it hits the palate so intensely. It's not necessarily like fruity. Camp Nelson F, I felt, was quite fruity in the dark fruit and in the grape realm. And I haven't had Camp Nelson C. I've heard that Camp Nelson C was kind of medicinal. I'm not sure. This has got chocolatey notes to it as well. Like some coffee, like some bitter sweetness to it. I would say it's more centered on that. Bitter sweetness and funk and leather on the palate and just huge intensity. And not a particularly fruity batch. So it is, I would say this is night and day different, even just to memory, as compared to the CNF. It's also a totally different beast than Russell's 15. Russell's 15 is going to blow this out of the water for most people. But, yeah, I might throw a little water in this. I don't not like this whiskey. It's just odd to me because usually with turkey products, the nose is... I usually love the nose on most turkey things. But maybe it's also a product of this just being such a high proof at barrel proof. I don't know. But that's the one part of the whiskey that doesn't work. And so here's the deal. Then you have to talk about price. $300. At $300, you have to have a whiskey that's really, really close to perfect. And so for me, Russell's 15 still has a couple of like imperfections or rough edges to it. However, nothing tastes like Russell's 15 in the last 5 years, or even more than that. So the uniqueness and the quality of the flavor profile of Russell's 15 is going to far outweigh any of the rough edges to that whiskey, even at $250 SRP and $425 secondary. Then you go on to this Camp Nelson B. This is $50 more SRP. And it doesn't just have a rough edge. It has like 1/3 of the experience that is not enjoyable to me, which would be the nose. So I don't think this is worth the price. I think CNF is closer to worth the price. CNB is one for the proof hounds, for sure. One for the collectors, of course. But it's not one that I think people should all be chasing down, especially at the price point, even at SRP. The junkies love this thing, yeah, but I mean, it drinks really well. I don't love the nose, though. It's just hot and kind of youthful on the nose, but then the palate doesn't. The palate's not really youthful. The palate's just dark and funky. I mean, super funky on the palate. So let me add like 1 drop of water to this. Oh, it's 120 proof. Let's add 2. Nick, it is a weird juxtaposition. I'm like a little blown away by it. It's still hot on the nose, you know? Greg, yeah, no, again, I really don't have any issues with this on the palate, I would say. I think it's damn good whiskey on palate finish. It's just the nose. The nose doesn't say much. But everybody wants me to froth it. That's funny. It lost a little pizzazz on the palate from the water. And it did not in a beneficial way. Like it maybe made it a little sweeter, but it lost the intensity of the funk. And I think the funk is what defines this product at the high proof. It's one thing to get turkey funk at at 90 proof from like a Russell's 10. It's another thing to get turkey funk at 120 proof when it's completely taking over your mouth. And that's a much more preferable experience for me, and I think probably for everybody. So if the nose matched the palate on this product, I would be like, hell yes, buy it at $300. But not the case. So let's do a quick science experiment. Let's add just a little smidge of the Russell's 10 with the crazy old notes to it. That definitely helped the nose. Jason says, tasting the LLME20 Russell's 10. I love that we have these laser codes. I love it. I love it. The smell is just so amazing. Can you imagine if the proof was... No, like if the proof was 115, it would be also probably in the top 10 whiskeys of the year with Russell's 10 or Russell's 15. Yeah, so if you want to improve your C&B, if you have one, just add a couple drops of the ME20 laser code Russell's 10. How's that for a science experiment? Okay. Let's see. Does adding a few drops of water really make a difference for some whiskeys? Yeah, it really can add like if you add 3 drops, if you have a pour this size, it's a fairly small pour. I would only add like 1 to 2 drops of whiskey to this, of water to this whiskey. If the pour was, like this, like a standard pour that I would have in this glass, I would probably add 3 to 4. I'd probably start with 3. Do 3 drops of water in this whiskey. So this is kind of a 50-50 blend now, guys, of the C&B and the Russell's 10. Nose isn't bad. Oh, the palate's gone. All right. Dark and funky. All right, it's going to be tough to come off of that whiskey from an intensity standpoint, particularly on the palate. Let's grab a few more Venmos. So what do you think? Like, for those of you in the chat right now, are you still going to be trying to hunt the Camp Nelson B? Like, I'm going to be interested to see other reviews of it. And I know some people don't put as much stock into the nose of a whiskey as I do. But I don't even think I'm being particularly picky on this Camp Nelson B. I just think the nose is not very good. So I'll be interested to see what other reviewers who really like the noses of whiskeys will say about that versus the palate and everything else. All right, so Will Molnar in for $50 super chat. Thank you, bro. That's insane. That he says congrats on the 10K. Thank you, Will. Brian S is in for $5. Says congrats on 10K, Cam. Glad to be one of your many followers. Can't wait for the Driftless Short Barrel to show up. Yeah, man, I'm on it. I promise I'm going to get to that. I promise. I'm leaving tomorrow. I'm driving up to Evernorth tomorrow. We're going to shoot a podcast, and then we're going to drive. I'm going to retaste our barrel that's dropping November 8th just to confirm that it's We're good to go. Then we're going to shoot a podcast. Then we're going to drive to a store, Rishi's, where they're going to be dropping off a barrel pick, the first one in the state of Michigan, which is very close to New Holland in Grand Rapids. Then we're going to go to the New Holland Walleye Whiskey launch event. So it's going to be a busy day Monday. And I'm only going to stay for like 2 hours at the launch event, maybe 90 minutes. And then I have to get back on the road. So, like, I'm not going to be real. I'll have a little sip of their new products or whatever. I think it's maybe 3 whiskeys. But I'm not going to be, like, partying or drinking or anything. And then I got to get back on the road. And I got to drive from Grand Rapids to Lexington Monday night. Wake up Tuesday and pick a 16-year Kentucky barrel for the Patreon with river roots. And then drive back home either that night, but if I'm not in good shape, then I'm going to stay another night. And then I have rehearsal Wednesday. So, like, this next couple days is going to be a total shit show. Russell's 15 all day, says Rich. Yeah, man. I agree. Like, to me, it's just, if you're going to go on secondary especially, I would just skip Camp Nelson B and get a Russell's 15. Andrew W., do you think it's more accurate and fair review of a bourbon at fresh crack or after a few ounces is gone? I think in an ideal situation, you should have spent some time with the bottle, not only to understand the profile, okay, let me say this. I'll reorder it. Not only to let air in the bottle, because depending on the whiskey, air can affect it to some degree. Double oaked and finished whiskeys usually need air. There's usually a breaking in, opening up period for those. Other bottles have less of that breaking in period. And I think I do not mean to sound pretentious or like conceited by saying this at all. So please don't take it this way. I'm going to try my best to word it well, but like, I think I've tasted enough whiskeys now. I don't know how many thousands of different whiskeys I've tasted at this point. And I feel like I have now a better idea of how a whiskey will or will not open up after first crack. Because it's like, I might taste the CNB today, and then next week I'll taste it, and whatever that variation is, that goes, and that's another reference point in my brain. But I think I've built that library of reference points in my head to the point where I have a better idea of what to expect if a whiskey will or will not open up. So I'm not trying to say like, oh, I've tasted so many whiskeys. That's not what I mean, but I do feel like more informed on that. So the Camp Nelson B, for instance, I don't think that whiskey is going to fundamentally change on the nose to where I'm going to smell it in 3 weeks and go, holy crap, this is an amazing nose. I don't think it's going to get there. But there are some whiskeys where you have those slight changes that are enough to kind of sway your opinion on the whiskey. I don't think that's one of them on the nose. Jason, my pick is going to be so we might keep the R15 barrel, but if we don't, then I'm going to take one of these 16s. We just got to find out. Ryan from River Roots is going to be bringing samples of Sarah's pick and my original 15-year pick to the broker with the 16-year barrels, and so I will have the chance to compare them and see if I want to swap out. But I mean, like, if I stick with my original pick, I'm not upset about that. I love that barrel, but when the option is now available of like, hey, maybe you can get a 16-year version of this, and these are barrels that haven't been tasted at that particular broker yet. It's not like we're getting seconds or something. That's very appealing. So I'm hoping we can find something even better. Matt Porter. Guys, Matt Porter tasted our Green River pick 8 days ago. And 8 days ago, Matt Porter had a George T. Stagg 2008 sample. And then he went to the Green River and he said, "This is the best whiskey I have ever tasted in my life." And he said, that George T. Stagg tasted like sawdust by comparison. That's what he said. And I couldn't believe it. And so I asked him, are you sure this is the best whiskey you've ever tasted in your life? You really mean it? And he said, Cameron, I would not lie to you. This is the best whiskey I've ever tasted in my life. So, man, thanks, Matt, for that. I mean, really substantial stuff. All right, let's taste Larson Barrel Proof C924. I was lying, by the way, guys. That's the opposite of what happened. Oh, that smells really nice off the nose of the bottle. So this is the new Larson Barrel Proof bottle design. I actually really like this rebrand. It's a little dark, like, overall, but the fact that they put Larceny in white text makes it pop. Part of me wishes something else was in white text to add a little pop, like, besides just the name, but I don't know. I do kind of like the way this looks. It's a different vibe. I'm into it, I think. Sorry, I'm just reading the chat. I'm laughing on the inside. What's up, EBA Boxing? Thanks, man. Good to see your name pop up. All right. So they still say on the back label 6 to 8 years for these batches. I didn't know if, like, anything else would change, you know, with this. So this is 125.1 proof. I love the branding now. It says stolen by John E. Fitzgerald on the front. Like, that's pretty cool. I dig this. It even says specifically weeded bourbon mash bill on the front. So yeah, 125.1. Pretty typical Larceny Barrel Proof stuff going on here. Spicy, you know, baking spices. Some sweetness, but mostly spice driven on the nose. Trying to find fruit. I think the best Larceny Barrel Proofs are the ones that have fruit notes that stand out. Pretty dry. Oh yeah, very dry mid-palate. I'm usually not one to complain about dryness on whiskey. I like to look past that, actually. Wow, it's like bone dry whiskey. There's no... Oh, wow. Unpleasant to drink. The heat is there, for sure. God, that is so tannic. Yeah, Terry, this is C924. Wow, that's so dry, dude. This is like... First sip is like instant pass. I like some of the notes. Let me pull out. I need a point of comparison here. So my favorite Larceny Barrel Proof batch of all time is C922. I thought it was just like pancakes and waffles, pancakes and maple syrup, yeah, you know what I mean. Breakfast. Also a good opportunity to just look side by side at the new and old bottle designs. Yeah, the new design is pretty freaking cool. Yeah, that's cool. Also, very surprised. Like, the other day, I went to a store in Columbus. And typically in Columbus, when we would get Larceny Barrel Proofs in over the last couple of years, a store would get like one case of 3 and it was gone immediately. I went into a store and there were like 12 B524s on the shelf. I have never seen such a thing in Columbus, Ohio. And then I stopped in, I don't know when this was, because I was just down in Atlanta. I drove to Atlanta. So when I drove back, I hit a few stores. So I got the Baker's High Rye. It may have been then, but I also found a shelf full of Larson Barrel Proof. And I'm like, what's going on here? I thought Larson Barrel Proof was something that people always bought up. C922, pretty much the same color. Jeb says, sits on the shelf here in Dallas. Guess the taters have moved on. Yeah, they must have. There's no flipping. I mean, nobody pays like upcharges on Larson Barrel Proof, so there's no flip or profit to be made. Slad says, I've never heard anyone except Fred Minnick talk up LBP. That's probably true. I mean, it's always just like how bad or not as bad is the batch for me, you know, except for C922. And C923 is good and very interesting and super sweet and buttery and different. B523 was another one that was good, but it didn't blind very well. Okay, so let's see. C922, so much going on the nose of this. It has dark fruit notes and balance. That has everything I want in Larson Barrel Proof. The maple hits on the back end. It's a little fruity up front. Very caramelized. Not dry. I love that batch so much. Man. All right. Okay, so the difference is very clear now on the nose. C924 totally smells like Booker's. It's so dry. That's such a pass. If you love Booker's and you don't mind a dry whiskey, you know, this might be for you. There's no bad flavors. It's just a bad experience on the palate. But C922 outclasses it in every way. Still, in my opinion, a slept-on batch of Larson Barrel Proof. Yeah. Yeah, I like C923. But if I have one in my head that I don't grab C923 to drink it. I grab C922 and actually actively seek out drinking C922. Like, that's why this is a fresh crack. You know, I will go through these bottles. I really like them. C923 I don't go through. But I think they still are the best two batches that have ever been released. Devin says, B523 was up my alley, soft and sweet on the front, kept building into the finish, where I felt it shine the most. Not whiskey of the year, but for 65. Yeah, I thought B523 was really good. It just didn't blind well. Breaking bourbon picking. You know, breaking bourbon is an enigma to me, because sometimes I really agree with them. They put out a review, if you guys remember this, of Lucky 7 14-year proprietor single barrel number 72. At one point, I owned 12 bottles from that barrel, because that was one of the best whiskeys I had that year. I ended up selling a lot of those off because when you have $3,500 into one bottle, you know what I mean? 12 of one bottle. I was like, what the hell am I doing financially? So I got rid of those. I wish I hadn't. I wish I would have kept 3 or 4 of them, but they gave that barrel 72 like 4.5 out of 5, which is a very high score for them. So that's why I just chased one down. I wanted to see if it was actually that good. It was that good. That barrel was a freak barrel. But some of the other stuff they've rated really high, like B523 Larceny as whiskey of the year, to me is like outlandish. It's like outlandish to me to think that that's the case, but I don't know if they're trying to like push value products, and that would make sense if that's a really big contributor to what they're talking about Whiskey of the Year as, then okay, I get it. But also, I mean, even Elijah Craig C923 beats the pants off of that. So I don't know, man. Matt, I went back and someone sent me a message that you tasted the Driftless Rye. Let me grab it. I want to taste it again. I watched your reaction. So yeah, man, this is like this is pretty much the oldest rye stock that they have there, you know, and their inventory of Kelvin barrels is dwindling. I've got 5 more clean glasses. All right, I'm just trying to, no, 7 more, so we're good. But their old Kelvin stock, I think, is dwindling now. This rye was such a clear winner there. It was a crazy barrel. Color's so freaking dark, too. It smells like grapefruit and root beer and molasses. Man. Little, like, apple skin note. Wow. So, Matt, you said black licorice on this. Before you said that, I was kind of classifying that bitter, like little bitterness at the, like bittersweetness almost. I was thinking of it as like a coffee thing and trying to relate it in my head to the root beer note that was in here. You're right. There's kind of a little licoricey thing going on, but I don't like black licorice, and I really like this bottle. So, dude, I just think it's a flavor monster. It is a crazy whiskey, though. Whew. Noah, thank you, man. Let me get you in here. And I've got to keep catching up on Venmo. Got you in for 4. The Old Parker's 10 weeded bourbon at cask strength is what I wish Larson tasted like. That's one of my white whales of bottles. 10-year weeded. I wonder what that label looked like. I don't think I've had that bottle. I've only had the heavy char wheat whiskey. Yeah, I think Larceny Barrel Proof could be, you know, if they just age dated that stuff at 10 years. I know that's a lot to ask, but just take 4 years off of Larceny Barrel Proof and then come back and have everything just be 10 years old from that point forward. That would be, I think, the way to go. A brown label. I don't know. I don't know if could even recognize that bottle. Yeah, the Driftless Rye is crazy, Matt. Devin says, the Driftless Bourbon surprised me the most. Definitely the best bourbon I've had from them. The ryes were always solid, but yours was still definitely at the top. Yeah, the bourbon is like it just tastes like coffee. I love the profile on that bourbon, but I recognize that if you're not a coffee drinker, it may turn you off. Okay, let me grab a few more Venmo Super Chats, guys. We have 169 in here, which is insane. Just a reminder about the giveaway. We're going to do it probably fairly soon, I would say. Probably just do it at midnight at this point. So we still have 170. That's a lot of people. So let's say we'll do the giveaway at midnight, and so I can get through a few more of these pours. Here's what we got. Third place giveaway winner, the Evernorth pick that we did. It's a Bourye blend of Sagamore and MGP. 3 years old, and then put blended 40-40-20 percentages, 40 high rye bourbon, 40 low rye bourbon, 20% 95.5 MGP rye, into a used wave stave barrel for an extra 6 years. So it's 9-year American whiskey. It just tastes like root beer and clove and like super aromatic, fragrant spices. Pretty crazy bottle. So that's prize 3. Prize 2 is a bottle of our Driftless short barrel. Only 22 bottles came out of this barrel, so you're gonna have you're gonna be one of 3 people to have a full bottle of this. Okay, 124 proof, 6.5 years. Just a real funky, weird bottle, and I love this stuff. And then the first prize is the Limestone Farms private stock at 113.2. Just, and I'm going to get to that here in a second. Amazing bottle. Okay. So now we are on to Terry Powers, man. Thank you, Terry, for the super chat. Got you in for 5. Says congratulations. Thanks, Terry. And then Maury Johnston also with 5 entries. Says congrats on 10K. Thanks, Maury. Jason Zell. Holy crap, man. All right, Jason Zell with a massive 20 entry, $100 super chat. Thank you, Jason. Jeez Louise, dude. With the thumbs up. So understated. Thanks, man. Let's see. Mali is in for... Mali, you gotta use friends and family. Not to scold you, but don't do business transaction. Do friends and family. With a $48.51 super chat. This is 10 entries. $50 super chat, basically. Congrats on 10K. Just a kid from Columbus. Thank you. Joe is in for 5. Says congrats. Thank you, Joe. Will Molnar is in for one more entry. $5 entry says upcharge. We added $5 to it, bro. All right, Brian Shuba, Brian SBS coming in with 4 entries, $20 super chat. Congrats on 10K. Thank you, man. And let's do 2 more real quick. Al Maloney in for 4. Congrats, dude. Keep killing it. Thank you, Al. And what do we got here? Nope. Yeah, I want to say cheers with a little Elmer T. Lee for you guys. And then Travis with 2 entries says, congrats, you're the most passionate reviewer out there. And definitely someone who's gone all in, doing it your way. Love you like family. Soak it in tonight and get back to it Monday. Thanks, Travis. That's really nice, dude. That's too nice. Don't say nice things like that to me. My eyes will start watering, dude. All right. Cheers, guys. I'll keep getting to the super chats as we go, but we've got more whiskeys to review tonight, or to do first impressions of, I should say. All right, I gotta reload Venmo. Holy smokes. Okay. I have a lot of these to get to. Let's keep moving. It is time to get into the old Overholt 11-year rye, the brand new Overholt 11-year rye whiskey for this year. An absolute sleeper bottle last year was the 10-year version of this, and I have that out here for the comparison. Oh my gosh, guys, you're too freaking... The super chats are kind of freaking me out a little bit. Thank you. Seriously, thank you. Matt says, licorice, like any vegetable, sucks by itself. Blended in with the right recipe, though, it can be incredible. Well, I hope it was the right recipe. I hope the Driftless is the right recipe. Sharina Bond says, thanks for talking about a bottle that's actually attainable. Yes, an extra 4 years on larceny would be amazing. Yeah, I know. Like, the 6 to 8 year thing, weeded bourbon needs more time in the barrel. I think it's a fact at this point. Oh, this has like a suction to the cork. Jeez. That's dark. That's fairly dark whiskey. This is the 11 year for this year. And then let's pour out the 10. But yeah, Sharina, like, I believe that weeded bourbon needs more aging time than rye bourbon. All right, Rob S. Thanks for the super chat, man. Says, in for 2. Gotcha. Says, I can't wait to try the Drums and Drams LE and Sarah's 15-year Russell's. Oh, I was like, 15-year Russell's pick. That'd be nice, wouldn't it? River Roots pick. Congrats on 10K. Thanks, man. Yeah, the limited edition is going to drop November 8th. That bottle Joe and Jesse from the Patreon were at River Roots the other day, and they tasted that from that barrel, and they were like, you should have bought the whole barrel. I was scared because the price point, it's $185 a bottle, minus 5% for, you know, the code that you guys use. But I was still like, it's $185 a bottle. It's 10 years plus one more in a reconditioned turkey barrel. Like, on paper, it's not a great value on paper, but I know the whiskey's so good, but I always want to be cautious of not going too far in. So we only got a half barrel because, like, if we don't sell stuff at a certain period of time, you know, it's kind of on me to buy that whiskey back if we don't sell all of it. And at that price point, I was freaked out. But now that the channel has just continued to grow, I'm like, man, I wish I would have bought the full barrel, because I really believe in the in that LE quite a bit. I think it's great whiskey. And then the 15 and 16-year picks or whatever's going to come up of this stuff we're talking about is also bonkers, but that's incredibly expensive. All right, DeFaust in for $20. So 4 entries. Gotcha. Says, late to the party after work, but congrats on 10K and keep up the good work. Always enjoy your videos and streams. Thank you. And Vegas Art with a massive $50 super chat. Thank you. Good Lord. You guys are too generous tonight, man. I really appreciate it. Chris, I'll get you in Venmo. I promise. Oh, Jason, I'll do the makers next. I'm so sorry I forgot about that, man. Thank you for the reminder. That'll be the next comparison. You know what? Jason, let's just do it now. Let's let this Overholt just got here today. Let's give it some air in the glass. But by the way, you can just see this. Wow. The new Overholt rye definitely darker than last year's. Like, I'm just looking down at the table, and it is much darker than last year's. Let's do the makers next. Sorry, Jason. So, guys, Jason sent me these samples, which is why we're talking about this. Let's do the heart release very quickly, and I think this makes sense because the proof points are lower than this Overholt rye. So what I have here is a Maker's 46 cask strength, and I've got the heart release, which is 111.7 proof. Jason, you wrote the code BR-22A. I love this. You wrote the laser codes. Oh, man, that's funny. All right, let's do it. All right. So real quick, let's do a heart release review. And then this Maker's 46 cask is basically just a point of comparison for this one. You know I love the laser codes. Casket salesman. Okay, so we're going to go straight to the heart release and then compare it to the 46 cask. If I recall, the heart release is comprised of 10 toasted French oak staves, I want to say. And then the 46 cask, 10 virgin French oak, but like not toasted staves, I think, for the 46 cask. All right, so here's the heart release. On the nose, it's like chocolate-covered strawberries on the nose. I get a little sour funkiness out of the heart release on the nose. But I have to admit, the Maker's Mark, like the standard Maker's qualities that I don't like, are less prevalent in the heart release. And maybe that's because the staves are toasted. Oh, the heart release is 10 virgin French oak? I thought they were toasted. John. Yeah, finished with 10 virgin toasted French oak staves. There we go. Okay. And I think the 46 is just like the same exact thing, no toasted though. The heart release nose is pretty good. Let me compare it quickly to the 46 cask. Yeah, the 46 cask has that, since Matt Porter is here, he was here. I don't know if he's still here, but what he says is like the spoiled like yogurt or dairy note. Yeah, it's got a lot of that. The 46 cask. It's still good. But like Makers, I don't really like a lot. And French oak, I don't really like a lot. So these are combining two things that I'm just not the biggest fan of. So back to the heart release. Oh, okay. The heart release tastes rubbery to me. I'm very sensitive to rubber notes in whiskey. That typically comes, for me, from French oak is a big contributor. Sometimes like sherry casks and port casks, depending on the quality of those casks, can impart a rubbery quality to the whiskey. Even in the finish now, it's pretty rubbery on this heart release. I like the nose actually quite a bit for a Maker's product. But that palate, it gets so rubbery. Yeah, it's a game, not game changer. It's just a buzzkill. I don't like that rubbery quality. All right. It's like, to me at this point, it's not even fair for me to review Maker's Mark products because I'm such an anti-fan of Maker's products. Except for, the cellar releases are pretty good. 23 is better than 24. But I just don't, I don't know. I don't think it's worth reviewing Makers for me. Jason, thank you for these samples, man. And you probably knew how that was going to go, just knowing that I'm not a Makers fan. But I like the nose on the heart release, and then you get it on the palate, and the rubber shines through. And I'm very sensitive to that. And I know not everybody will probably pick up on it because people either like Makers or they like French oak, and I don't like either of the two things usually. So, is the 46 cask worth getting? It's been sitting on the shelf near me, but most people here are blue-collar, two-job working types. I think that's why it's easier to find allocated releases. If you like the Maker's profile, I think the 46 cask is good. Especially, price-wise. It's not a crazy high price. All right, Hooper, thank you for the $10 super chat. Let me get you in here for 2 entries. It says congrats on 10K. Thank you. All right. Let me grab a few more of the Venmo super chats. And then we're going to officially get on to this old Overholt 11-year and 10-year comparison. Thank you guys for being here tonight, by the way, for this little 10K celebration stream. It's not a stream where I'm going to drink the craziest whiskeys I own or whatever. Still kind of getting down to business and doing reviews, but it's a lot of fun to be able to just marathon stream like this. We're 2 hours, 20 minutes deep, but it is a Saturday night. People are going to stay up later, and we still have 162 people, which is pretty crazy for me. So hit that like button. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing. Check out the Patreon as well. All those plugs. But all right, after Travis, we have Joseph Doherty in for 5 entries. Thanks, man. Appreciate that. And we've got Marshall with 10 entries. Congrats on 10K. Watching along while I do my taxes. Oh, man, I feel that. That pains me. Thanks, dude. Thank you for the $50 super chat. Holy crap. Justin Reynolds is in for one and says congrats and cheers. Thank you, Justin. And here we go. The Mac Daddy of them all, Toshi Baker, with 30 entries. Toshi with $150 super chat, man. I'm deep in the stream. I would say cheers and have a sip of something, but I have to preserve my liver space at this point because we're pretty deep in. So thank you, Toshi. He said cheers on 10K Cam. Toshi, you're awesome, man. Wow. Jeremy White, a.k.a. Slad, in for two, says, note to Cam, what up? You can just call me Slad. Here's 10 for 10K. Congrats. Keep picking winners. Thanks, man. Slad, I like your ball busting in the Patreon, dude. I don't want you to think I didn't like that when I said that stuff the other day. You were just being a negative Nancy. Now you're being a positive Peter. And it's hilarious, dude. I love the Discord environment. Children, please. That was funny. All right. Jeb Singleton, in for 5. Says was gonna send 20, but forgot about the $5 upcharge. Thank you, Jeb. You bastard. All right, Dale Console. Let's get 2 more in here. Dale in for 3. Says giveaway. And John, holy jeez Louise, John. In for 20 entries. $100 super chat says congrats on 10K. Well, thank you guys. Matt, take that as a neutral. It's like if the maker's profile is your thing and you don't mind stave finishes or French oak, like if you like all of these components, then get a Maker's 46 cask. But if any one of those things, if you don't like staved whiskey or finished whiskey, if you don't like French oak, or if you don't like Makers, any one of those 3 are out for you, then I would say pass on it. DeFaust, in for another 2 entries. Thanks. Got you for 2 more. Says, just cracked the new Bardstown Bourbon Company High Wheat, and on first sip, I'm a big fan. So, out of curiosity, what are the top 3 notes that you get on that whiskey? I'm not testing you. I'm legitimately asking you. Rich says I should get 4 entries for 20. Didn't I give you those entries, Rich? Is Rich behind on the stream? Let me scroll back. Yeah, Rich, I got you in for 4 entries, man. If I said something different, then that was just a mistake. Steve, did you catch my super chat at the start? Steve, I believe I did. Steve, you sent... Let me see, Steve. Let me scroll back here, man. I've got you in very early on, but I just want to make sure everything is correct. Yeah, Steve, I got you in for 10 entries. So 50. You got a $50 super chat. Yeah, if I didn't pull that up, I'm sorry. Here it is. Thanks, man. Yeah, I do have that down. If I didn't say anything, I apologize. I appreciate it, man. Matt, we need reviews, not liver disease. I know, man. I feel that. Michael says, you got any Kentucky Owl to sip? No, I have one sealed bottle in my basement of Kentucky Owl Rye Batch 3, but it's not getting popped. It's gonna wait around for, an occasion or so. Oh, Rich says I'm always behind. Okay. Let's get a few more in here. No, let's go to this review now. So, last super chats that I got in the old Venmo was John. So we're on to Jamie next. Then Domingo and Sam and Guy. Ooh. Oh, wow. These are very different ryes. So now we're on to the old Overholt 11-year. And this is funny because, I didn't realize the proof on this. I thought they would have kept it the same. So last year's 10-year release was 121 proof. This year's 11-year release is 107.4. So a pretty steep drop off. That's 53.7% ABV. Now, I don't know how many of you guys out there remember this, but in 2020, I believe it was, they released a limited Old Overholt 11-year rye in Pennsylvania and Ohio, and it was like 90.8 proof, or it was like 91.8. It was very low proof. I thought that rye was great. Very hard to pick up in a blind. Also, doesn't blind well as far as quality goes if you're trying to rank things, because it's so low proof. It's so delicate. But it was a pretty cool rye. But it was like a limited release they did, and then a few years later, last year, they came out with the 10-year cask strength. Now we have this 11-year. And this is cask strength, this 11-year at 107.4. The color is different between these two. I smelled them very quickly. The profile is pretty darn different. And this tracks because the warehouses are different. So these were laid down the same year. These are both barreled in 2012. But last year's release, it says, in 2012, we laid down our rye in our unique Escalator Warehouse V. So I don't really know what that means. Warehouse V. So, but all from one warehouse. This is the 11-year for this year, and it says, in 2012, we laid down rye for extended aging. 11 years later, we curated the best to be blended and bottled from 4 distinct warehouses, M, J, F, and 5. So there we go. We get a number in there, too. Okay, so different warehouses. And this one being an... Did I say elevator warehouse? It's escalator. That's funny if I mix those up. Escalator Warehouse V. I don't know what that means. But it tracks. If the profiles are different and... Okay. And the colors, too. You ever think about doing a house tour of all your bottles? Not really, because the majority of the bottles that I own are actually in my basement, and there's no lighting, and it's just in like a corner of the basement up against the wall on these 2 shelves. My bunker is like a total mess. And the house we live in, it would not be flattering for me to show you the house that I live in. That's the best way I can put it. And then this room, the whole floor is covered in whiskey behind me, which is why when I get up to grab something and you see me like, Spider-Manning over the whiskey, that's what's going on. So it's not conducive to like a tour. When we move into our new place next year, that would be a better opportunity, because basically the next house that we get, the basement is going to be completely dedicated to drums and drams and then my percussion studio stuff. And all the whiskey, the goal is that all the whiskey is going to be together. So I can just, I could show you guys all at once. Yeah, I would love to show you my triangle collection, though. Okay, let's get on to this 11-year. 107.4. So there is nuttiness on this. I'm trying to think about, like, if I give you the notes, just the pure notes on this whiskey, it's going to sound similar to some other things I've tasted tonight, specifically like the Larson Barrel Proof C924, but this comes off very differently. So I think this is C924. It is, yeah. Very sharp. This is pretty sweet and rounded, even though there's good spice. It's very cinnamon-driven, like aromatic, sweet cinnamon-driven on the nose. Just kind of like the 10-year from last year, but the 10-year from last year at the higher proof obviously has more intensity. This year still has a cinnamon-forward profile, still has nuttiness to it, a teeny bit of a dry nuttiness to it. But there is a juicy component to this year's release that I don't get on last year. Last year is very proofy and very cinnamon. This year has something in the background, like I would say it's more of a honey roasted peanut note as opposed to just like dry peanut. And then, I don't know. Is it a golden raisin note? It might be a golden raisin note. But there's some kind of fruit thing in the background of this year's release that I actually like more on the nose than the 2023 release. All right, let's taste this year's release and see. Oh, wow. Oh, that's good. Oh, that's good. Oh, it's so chocolatey. I did not expect the palate to be this balanced because even at 107.4 proof, which is not high, the nose feels very spice driven. The palate is like pretty darn balanced, and there's enough roundness to go with that cinnamon spice. Oh man. And let's go to last year's release now. Last year's release is ballsy and spicy, and I loved it. I loved this whiskey last year. But it is super like Jim Beam forward. Malty, brown sugary, earthy, nutty, very intense, just straight to the point whiskey. Great finish. Not fruity. The balance on this year's is great. So now that I go back to the nose after taking a sip of both of these, there's so much chocolate on the nose of this year's Overholt rye. You would never in a million years know that this is a rye whiskey. It's not even close. This is like an upgraded Knob Creek cast strength rye. It's a lower proof, but the roundness and the balance of the profile, I would say is upgraded. Dude, I really, really like this whiskey. And it is more reserved on the palate. So people might complain about that because it doesn't rip your face off. I hope I'm not the only one that likes this Overholt 11-year rye because that would mean I'm the only one that likes this and the only one that likes the OGD 16 bourbon. This is delicate, but it's so much more age on the palate. The finish is very leathery and oaky. And I like that I can taste the fact that this is an aged rye, whereas last year's was just laser, like a laser beam on your palate of spiciness. And big fan. At $110 for this 11-year rye, totally, absolutely pick this up. Don't pay secondary. It is more reserved at 107.4. It's not worth chasing, but if you see this and you want a Kentucky rye, not an herbal rye, pick it up. I like this a lot. I like the proof point too. I like the more reserved proof point, and the fact that it's cast strength, and you know that they haven't added water to get this down to 107.4. Yeah, I'll have to do some comparisons to kind of try to put this whiskey into context with some other releases. I freaking like this whiskey a lot. Okay. All right. We can move on. Joe, yeah, that's fine. It's very different though, man. In some ways, like the overall profile is similar. It's a more reserved version of it. It's got extra fruitiness, and then the age actually shows in this whiskey as opposed to last year, where I don't feel like the age showed very well in last year's release. All right, I think I missed 2 super chats here. Brett, I'll get to your Venmo, man, I promise. I'm doing like 5 or 6 at a time trying to catch up. Dan H, thank you for the super chat, man. In for 4, excuse me. Says, cheers, just got home after drinking Booker's Infinite with... Okay, Dan, which... Are you talking Booker's Reserve or Little Book Infinite? Which one were you drinking? The black bottle or the brown bottle? Out of curiosity, because I had the Little Book tonight. That's why I'm asking. Noah P. Thank you for the super chat. Noah, I think that's your second, maybe? Got you in for 2. What are your thoughts on the Old Forester Barrel Strength Rye? Wondering if it's similar to Jack Daniel's Barrel Proof Rye. The Old Forester is more of the candied, like bright candied strawberry, bright candied banana notes. Actually, I would say the Old Forester Barrel Proof Rye has so much banana to it. So if you're not a big, runts or candied banana note fan in your whiskey, that is probably not going to be for you. And just personally speaking, I got rid of my bottle. I liked it, but I never reached for it. And after, it was open for a year and a half or something, I was like, yeah, this is not really it. If I want a high proof Brown Forman rye, I was just going to grab the Jack Daniels. So I don't know. And I guess they're all single barrels, so it's up to you. Maybe somebody else in the chat is going to disagree with me. And I would understand, especially based on the fact that they're single barrels. Brett says, doing a Drums and Drams pick night celebration. Awesome, man. Thanks, dude. All right, Junior Fuentes. Let's see. In for 1. Let me get you in. Oop. I gotta... There we go. All right, congrats on the 10K. Super happy I joined the Discord family. Looking forward to all your future content and barrel picks. Love you. Thanks, dude. I appreciate that, man. Thanks for your support, and thanks for jumping in the Patreon and being there and just part of the community, man. Kevin, for some reason I can't super chat here, but I can to the BJs. I don't know. That's weird. I don't know why that is. Prozac, I have not tried the Penelope Estate stuff. No. We talked about that a little bit earlier. And, oh, wow, I said we are going to do the giveaway at midnight. It's 12:10. Well, all right. We still have 185 people here, so sorry, guys. I missed my cutoff. We talked about the Penelope Estate earlier with Adam, who was in the chat earlier. He said he really liked it. I personally haven't tasted it, but I don't know what SRP is for that bottle. Adam Edlin, thanks for the super chat, man. Let me get you in here. In for 2. Tell Sam to stop drinking all of his C923. That's funny. Dan says Little Book Infinite. Enjoyed it. Went through half a bottle. That'll do it, man. That'll freaking do it. That's awesome. Okay. Let me grab like 4 more super chats here in the Venmo. The super chats tonight, guys, are off the charts. So at the end, I got to look at how many we have and figure this all out. This is crazy. Jamie Wilson, I got you in for $315. Thank you, Jamie. Says Saturday Live. Domingo Corona. There we go. Domingo in for 1. Says drama. Sam, thanks, man. In for 2 says you're an amateur, not a fan. I know. I'm sorry. Guy is in for, Guy's in for 20. He said, not able to join tonight. He's out with friends. Here's 10,000 pennies for 10,000 subs. Congrats. Been great to be a part of the Drums and Drams community. Here's to another 10K. Guy, thank you, dude. Thanks for that. Little sip of the Overholt 11. I really like that stuff. It does taste like a Beam product, though, so be aware. Amy Bohm in for 2 says cheers on 10K. Thank you, Amy. Philip C, a.k.a. Philippe, is in for 4. Thank you, man. Let's do 2 more. Oh, another one from Philip is in for 5 more. And here we go, Dan Pacifico. is in for 2. Thank you, Dan. It says 10K subs. Happy to be along for the ride. I'm happy to have you, man. Thank you for all your support. Okay, let's move on. So many whiskeys tonight. Let me check the thumbnail to see. We're almost caught up. We are almost caught up. Can you believe it? Absolutely insane. Let me check the thumbnail to see what else I need to taste tonight. Oh my God, Brett, I put the Found Norths on here, man. Jeez Louise. All right, we'll do the Found Norths. I have the Found Norths, and I have the Rare Character left, and the Limestone Farms. Poor choices. I get overzealous every time. Okay. Let's get some water going. Let's get some water going. I'm going to clear this glass. Mauricio says, picked up 2 Turkey 70th anniversary bottles today, 42 each. That's a great price. Yeah, I would be buying 2 of those at least. Bobby, Cam had me checking Russell 10s today. Looked like a crazy person checking everyone's bottle. That's hilarious, man. Jeb is not a Found North fan. I'm usually not either, but we're going to try these. Rare Bird, hey, man. I didn't know you were in here. Did I miss you? Oh, dude, what's up? Okay, it was only 3 minutes ago. I feel okay. It's been a long night, dude. We've been going for almost 3 hours. What did you miss? Camp Nelson B. All right, I don't know if you've tried Camp Nelson B. If you you know what? I won't say anything. I'm interested to know what you think. If you have tried it, like let me know if you've tried it. I'll say this: 2 out of the 3 parts of that whiskey I think are like lights out, showstopper, attributes. But one part of the whiskey is not my favorite. Dan, another. Oh, man. Dan H. with another 4 entries. Thank you, Dan. Gosh. You guys are incredibly generous tonight. Sam, let's get saturated for 10K. Except I have to drive to Michigan tomorrow. I can wait until tomorrow evening to leave. That's okay. It's only 5 hours. If I get in at like 10 p.m., it's not the end of the world. But, whew, it's going to be a long night. Okay. All right, Sven. Let me get you in here, man. Sven Dryden in for 2. Blended Still Austin Cask Strength Bourbon, Jack Single Barrel Proof Bourbon, and Dancing Goat Sorghum and Sassafras Bitters Rye tonight. Quite the that sounds like a concoction. What's up with the Dancing Goat? What is the sourcing on that? That does sound like quite a concoction. All right. David has not tried the CNB. Everything else is swill, Cam said so. I said no such thing. I said no such thing. All right, so we have 4 more whiskeys to get into this evening. Let me pull them out. PSB, so the Rare Character, and the Found North samples, which is this and this. And the last one is what? The Limestone Farms. Great. All right. We're going to do this. We are going to make it. I do promise you that. Next up is Josh Snyder, super chat wise. We're gonna go into the. I think we're gonna go into the Limestone Farms next because it's the lowest proof of the upcoming 4 pours that we have left. Josh Snyder, thank you for the $10 super chat. Says congrats. I got you in for 2. Appreciate you, man. Jeremy in for 5. Says hotel money. Thanks, Jeremy. Yeah, I got some hotels coming up. It's funny. I'm like, I'm inching up on the rewards program for Marriott and for Hilton also, because like not every place has, you know, what you need or whatever. I've never had that experience before. Michael Gal says, congrats on 10K subs and happy birthday to my good friend Travis Downey. Happy birthday, Travis. Thank you, Michael. Got you in for 2. And Brett Teeds, I got you in for 4, man. Congrats on 10K. You're my boy, broski. Thanks, Brett. All right, let's go. Let's get into Limestone Farms. I've tasted this on a live stream, probably 2 months or 3 months ago. But because this exact bottle that I'm going to taste is the top giveaway prize tonight, I think it's worth retasting, especially considering the fact that I think this is a top 10 whiskey of the year for me. Like, I really think it would finish top 10. It's not cheap by any means. The mash bill is pretty wild. 70, 10, 10, 10. There's honey wheat and distiller's malt and corn and something else in there. This particular batch, because these are different batches, is 113.2 proof. I don't believe that to be barrel strength. I think it's watered down just a little bit. Barrel strength on these is maybe around 120-ish. Color, as you can see, is hilariously dark in the bottle, right? It is a dark label, but it's also really dark whiskey. So 113.2. This whiskey just smells... Number one, it's got a little earthy vibe to it, like fresh. It's very fresh, but a little bit earthy. But it smells like... Sometimes when you see a dark whiskey like this, and it's fruity, it's like dry fruit notes. Dried, it's like raisiny, you know? This is fresh dark fruits, fresh blackberries, fresh plums, fresh cherries. All of the dark, fresh fruit notes you can think of are in this glass. It's so lively and inviting and fresh, and it just smells like nature, you know, in like the best way. No grassiness. And on the top of all of it is this beautiful vanilla note. It's cranberries, raspberries. It's amazing whiskey to me. And I know the price is, you know, 180, 200, 220, depends on where you're at. It's a great bottle. It's a special bottle. It's totally worth it. You would be hard pressed, and like the thing that makes this unique is just how fresh those fruit notes are. They're so dark but so fresh. Usually you go dark and then you start to get dry. You start to get oaky and leathery. All of this is still fresh. I don't understand that about the whiskey, to be totally honest. It has to have something to do with the crazy mash bill and the grain makeup that we have going on here. There you go, Tom. 70 corn, 10 honeyed wheat, 10 honeyed malted barley. That's the one that I miss. And 10 distiller's malt. Dude, it is outstanding whiskey. God. All right. So, I mean, that's pretty much all I need to say about that. I love that whiskey so much. I just bought 3 more bottles. It's that good. I am giving one of them away, but I just bought 3 more bottles. Okay. Let's go on now. Kind of in the same flavor profile vein, I think. Let's go to something kind of weird. Oh my God, Matt. Oh my God, Matt. That's a deep cut. So Matt said, Matt said, Hilton, yeesh, what's wrong with a good old Motel 6? The murder part? I'd say that's probably right. Cam is bougie. He likes clean rooms with no bugs. You know, you can't have it all, but if you could only have one thing, it would be a hotel room without bugs. That's funny. That's funny. Okay. Next up, quick review here. First impressions. This is a rare character, single barrel. This is kind of a new one. I think only one of these has been released. It's code PSB. Now, I heard that this stands for pot stilled bourbon. I do not know if that's true. I think it is, from what I've read. It's 135.1 proof. Casket Salesman in the chat sent this my way. It's 8 years, 7 months. And the back of this bottle has some interesting information. The mash bill is 70% corn, 25% rye, 5% malted barley. 70, 25, 5. That's the same mash bill as TKO from Rare Character, which is the pink wax. In that case, the 70 is rye and not corn. And TKOs are pretty well established at this point to be an experimental rye distilled at George Dickel. This is a bourbon with the same components, just switch the corn and the rye in the mash. But it says it comes from Indiana on the label. I found on Facebook that Chad from Rare Character, who's working in the warehouse with the barrels, said that this is actually distilled in Tennessee and that the label is incorrect. If that's true, I find it interesting that TKO rye, with the same exact percentages in the mash, with the grains flipped, comes from Dickel. It's experimental. It doesn't go through the Lincoln County process, to my knowledge. That then this PSB has the same components, also from Tennessee, according to Rare Character, from Chad. But it might be pot stilled if the PSB actually stands for pot stilled bourbon. Does that mean it also comes from George Dickel and they have a pot still? I have absolutely no idea. I'm trying to think of like who has a pot still in Tennessee with 8 year 7 month, 135 proof. I don't know. Now, if the label were correct and it was actually distilled in Indiana, and sometimes labels do get messed up. This happens other places too. If it came from Indiana and they were talking pot still, I was like, well, maybe it's like Starlight or something, and the age would make sense. But if this is Tennessee and Rare Characters is kind of saying so through Chad, I don't know where it comes from. Tennessee Distilling Company, Dickel. I don't think it's Jack Daniels. Like, I have no clue, man. Dickel doesn't have a pot still, says Travis. So that's the thing. I have no idea where this is from. And so the point of this review of this sample is not to think about where it's from. It's just to taste the whiskey. I'll say this on the nose. I've tasted, I don't know, 5 or 6 or 7 barrel codes from Rare Character at this point, including the LE, including the experimental, the exceptional series, K21s, TKOs, KOAs, Matt Porter's Rye. I don't know the barrel code on that. I've tasted, 6, 7, 8 codes of Rare Character. There are definite hits. There are definite misses amongst those. This, on the nose, is the most crafty Rare Character. Like, the other stuff all feels legacy to me. This smells like a craft bourbon. 100 million % craft. Clay, the giveaway's still going. Unfortunately, I need to get that done. It's a very chocolate-forward nose, very maple on the nose as well. Brown sugar. It's definitely in that crafty, chocolatey realm. It has that malted milk ball, milk dud kind of note. Little citrus punch on here, lemon. It's heavy. It's just a heavy bourbon. You can, if it is pot stilled, if that is what the code means, I would believe it because it has the heaviness of a pot still distillation on it. Do I love it on the nose? Not necessarily. It's a little crafty for me, but I also, it's half and half. It's very crafty, but I also like the notes. A little smoky on the palate. A little bit of a cannabis note on the palate, which I get from some American single malts, especially when they use what do you call that in the distillation? Like breweries. Try to say that. It's too late in the night. Breweries. When a brewery uses, what do they call that in the distillation process? Like brewer's beer? I don't know what they call that when they overlap that stuff. Anyways, but when they use the same stuff in the distillation run, when it's a brewery / distillery combo, is what I'm trying to say. Like a Dragon's Milk, like New Holland or some other places. Yeah, brewer's yeast, maybe? Is that it, Devin? What am I thinking of? Yeah, this isn't quite it for me. Brewer's malt. If Jesse's still here, Jesse knows what I'm talking about. It's a little late in the night for me, you know? It's interesting. I'll say that it's interesting. Brewer's medicine, maybe. That's funny. I'm going to revisit this on a fresh palate for sure. Not my jam right now. If they distilled a hot beer, I really get that dank smell, says Jesse. What do you call it, though? Is it brewer's beer that they would use, or brewer's yeast? Like, what am I thinking of right now, Jesse? All right, Matt, get out of here, man. Cheers, bro. Have a good night. All right, lastly, we have 2 Found Norths. 2 more pours. Does Chattanooga have a pot still? I don't know, but Travis might know that. It doesn't taste anything like a Chattanooga product, though. It doesn't have that same, like, kind of honey malt thing. Terpenes. Yeah, I don't know, Joe. All right. On to the Found North. I'll say this, like, to me, yeah, the PSB is not totally for me tonight. It is quite crafty. I think it's an interesting choice by Rare Character, who I've never associated with sourcing craft whiskeys like that, or craft tasting whiskeys, maybe. But maybe that is something they're not opposed to. I'm not sure. Okie dokie. So we've got Helldiver here, and we have Peregrine from Found North. Both of these, if you look on their website, have like absolutely hilariously complicated makeups between all the oak and the blending and the composite mash bill and all that kind of stuff. So we're going to start with the Peregrine. Okay, here we go. Jesse says certain brewer's yeast can produce terpenes, which do give those cannabis aromas. I think that has a little bit of that to me. It's much more subtle than the New Holland stuff or the Westward stuff. Travis, the only 2 that make whiskey in the state, Sugarlands and, is it Lepers or Lipers Fork? I don't know how to say that. Maury says, when you say crafty, is that always a negative connotation? Not always. 87% of the time, yes, though. It's Leapers. Okay, Leapers Fork. Okay. Gotcha. Yeah, Leper's Fork, I guess that's not great. They wouldn't name that. Name themselves that. Okay, let's go to Found North Peregrine now. This is a long time coming. Sorry, Brett. All right, Found North Peregrine on the nose. So, candy shop all the way. Like, significant light whiskey candy shop vanilla notes. A little butter creaminess underneath it, but it's not heavy. Definite, like, powdered sugar notes. A little bit of a sappiness to it. Hot, intense ethanol. All right. And you could convince me of a light fruit, particularly like green apple or pear note, but I think that's in the background. All right. It's hot. Very hot. It's funny because it actually has a little Buffalo Trace honey resemblance on the palate to me. As I go back to the nose, the sweetness fills out. It feels a little bit more rich and slightly more broad, I would say, on the nose, but still erring on the side of that candy shop light whiskey sweetness, right? It's just a powdered sugar donut to me. What else? Brett, I don't feel like this is particularly complex. I think it's just more of like a single note, you know, focused profile on the palate. It reminds me of what I wish light whiskey tasted like. So light whiskey can get almost bitter in some ways, too alcoholic. This has some of that, but it's not to a negative, like an overly negative degree, maybe. I don't know how to say it. Tony Bag of Donuts, thank you for the super chat, man. Got you in for 2. Says 10K and beyond. Cheers, Cam. Thank you. All right. Let me make sure I didn't miss anybody else. Brett, what else are you picking up on the nose of this? Yeah, I do not think it's that complex. But I actually, I kind of enjoy it for what it is. I just think it's a little bit hot. All right, Helldiver. This is the last pour of the night. Helldiver from Found North. This is darker. Yeah. So this is more my profile. It's a little darker whiskey. This is, we're talking Canadian whiskey here. This is a 15-year age statement, but there is stuff older than 15 years in the blend. The Peregrine was 20 years. This has more of an American toasted oak note to it on the nose. So I don't know if this was put in, if I had to guess, it was put in a new American oak barrel. It has that quality to it, I would say. But I think the difference between them is fairly obvious right now to me on the nose. Like the Peregrine is light, sweet, light whiskey-esque, candy shop, vanillas. And this Helldiver is a little more dark and fruitier also. Like I'm picking up on the same kind of vanilla qualities I got on the Peregrine, but underneath it, strawberry candies and almost like a blueberry, blue raspberry candy. Ooh, and the palate is more relaxed and reserved. It allows the flavors to develop a little bit better. So Helldiver for me all the way. I like this a lot. It's getting a little chocolate cocoa powder note on the palate. Slightly tart. That's like one of my favorite Canadian whiskeys I've ever had. Helldiver. Right up there with the 18-year Backbone 120 proof Canadian rye that they did, which was very berry forward also. I think maybe finished in American oak, which this feels to me like it's finished in American oak. I like Helldiver a lot more than Peregrine for me. Yeah. All right. Brett, what do you think, man? Which one is your favorite of the two? So I have to finish up now getting these Venmo super chats in. Thank you, Noah. Appreciate it. Brett says you would never guess Helldiver is Canadian. I don't think I would either. Helldiver beats the pants off of Peregrine, I feel like. Yeah, okay, Jesse agrees. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to take the banner down. 153 people in here still. That's so crazy. Please hit that like button if you haven't already. Thank you guys for being here. It's a 3-hour stream. Very late stream. The wife is out of town, so I'm like, you know what? I'm going to stream a little later. Lots of whiskey tonight, but a very, very fun stream, I would say. And thanks to everybody for the samples. Brett and Steven, Tom for the Russells, and Justin for the Larceny and the old Overholt. What else? If I missed anybody, and Jesse for the Elmer T sample as well. You guys, made tonight very, very fun. So I have to get the rest of these super chats in. We are cut off on super chats. Let me grab the PayPals. A few more PayPals came in. Oh my gosh. Just one more. It was from Kevin. Thank you, Kevin. Let me get you in here, man. In for 5. Says 5 entries, please. Gotcha, man. Okay. Let's go back to Venmo and collect the last of these. Jesse says, yeah, Tony, definitely didn't expect you to be on still when I got home. Yeah, late stream. Jesse says, I usually don't care for Canadian, but when it gets fruity, like with Helldiver, it can be delicious. I agree. I like Helldiver a lot. There's a bitterness, slight rubber note coming in now on the nose for me, but it's not enough for me to be turned off by. I really, really like Helldiver. Yeah. The last right says, Cam, Drums and Drams, Junkies, and ADHD Whiskey tied for first for favorite bourbon channels. Thanks, man. Congrats on 10K. Appreciate it. Okay, I've got to go back to Venmo now and get the rest of this stuff in. So I got to see who my last entry was. It's gonna be a challenge here. Brett, did I get you in here? I think I did. I got you in for 4. I got Michael Gow. Okay, so now we are on to Greg. So we're almost there. We are like really close. Greg Y, thank you for the super chat, man, and for 2 entries with the little present emoji. Chris Blankenship, I got you for 4. Says entry. Thank you, Chris. Maury. More for 1 more says forgot the upcharge. That's funny, bro. Sam, 1 more says still not a fan. Here's another $5. I'm sorry that you're donating another $5. John, thank you for 10 more entries, bro. $50 super chat says thanks for everything. Sorry for my confusion on the heart release, Daves. Oh, come on. Honestly, I'm probably the one that's confused. Thanks for the super chat, man. Bobby Holton is in for 2 more entries. Says better late. Says congrats on 10K. Thank you. And then we got Jesse that says better late than never for 2 entries. I got you in, man. Mike G says for Slad's newfound positivity. You know what, Mike? Yeah, you're right. Slad was such a negative Nancy, though, you know? We had to put him on the right track. Clay, a $100 super chat, man. Thank you with a little Helldiver here. Wow. Thank you, Clay. All right, Phil, you're the last one. I believe you're the last one. Let me close out of Venmo and go back one last time with a refresh. I think we're wrapped up. Phil, thank you for closing us out here with a $10 super chat. Says congrats on 10K. Also appreciate the always quick response in the DM. I know you're not talking too much. Sorry if I take too long sometimes on responding in the DMs, but you know, I do my best with that, man. I do promise. Slad, you're right. You're right. Clay says, usual drill. If I happen to hit, please send to a first timer. Thanks, man. You guys are awesome. Oh, Matt Porter. Little do you know. What are you guys talking about, distant third? Oh, my goodness. All right. If you guys win, I'm just going to keep it. All right. Let's go to the old randomizer. I'm going to put these up on the screen because there's so many super chats to check. This is going to take a second, so apologies in advance. Let's do this, guys. I'm going to give away 2 more prizes. So we're going to do 5 prizes, okay? I'm going to do 5 prizes. Yeah. All right. This is what we're going to do. I've already talked about 1, 2, and 3. Prize 4 is going to be Boulder Cast Strength 2024. I have this up here. It's a backup bottle, and I think it's a sleeper for this year, so we're going to give it away. And I also have an extra Russell's ME, which ME20, Russell's 10. This will be the 5th prize, and I found this on the way home from Short Barrel this past week. So I picked another one of these up. So there we go, 5 prizes tonight. All right. So please check your entries. This first round, so how many rounds do we have to do of this? Let me go down to 125%. So it's going to be from Brian down. Guys, by the way, the super chats tonight are absolutely astronomically insane. I can't thank you enough. This is ridiculous. So thank you for supporting the channel. The first round will be Brian down to Harold. And then we're going to have Harold, well, really Michael, down to William. And we're going to have Brian down to Jamie. Then we're going to have Domingo down to Jesse. And that's it. We'll have a quick little 4th round. So, guys, I got to go to the old take a leak room. And while I'm there, if there are any issues with this first round of super chats from Brian down to Harold, let me know. Just a reminder that the way this works is your name is on the left. Your number of entries is here. So Brian gave $5, which is 1 entry. You see 1, and his name populates once over here in this column. Steve gave 10 entries, which is $50 super chat. His name will automatically populate 10 times over here for 10 entries, etc., etc. And I will be right back. If there are any issues, please let me know in the chat. We'll do this for all of the entries, so 4 little rounds of checking these, and then we'll do the giveaway, and then I'm going to go to bed. Long night. Good Lord. All right, everyone rank your favorite channels. He's not that tall in person. Man, I must have been gone a long time. And I probably was. I had to pee. All right, let's keep going. No issues from Brian down to Harold. Let's go from then Michael down to William. Mr. Will Molnar. Yeah, 3-hour streams are definitely rough. Although tonight, like, I can tell I've been streaming for 3 hours, but also, pace-wise, pretty darn good for 3 hours. Maury says, I can't believe this stream is still live. I also can't believe that anybody's still here watching, but there's 140 people, Maury. So what does that say about the state of our... oh, sorry, I got to take this down so people can see. What does that say about us, you know? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Trying to find a special pour to end the night with here. Okay. We did cover a lot of ground, Terry. Let's keep going here. This is going to be from Brian now down to Jamie. So I'm going to pour my top 2 Brook Hill Ryes. This top one is Las Palmas. Like, I was thinking about, what am I going to drink tonight to celebrate 10K? You know, is it going to be the original River Roots rye? Nah, not tonight. George C. Stagg 08 is great. Chateau de la Bade is great. Russell's 15 is great. VVS 13 is great. But I'm gonna go off the wall here to the 2 best rye whiskeys I've had this year, which are both Brook Hill. So shout out to Rare Character for these. I've been critical of Rare Character only because the hype is so insane. I'm critical of them, but I'm also very supportive of them, like, as you should be, with just about anything. But Las Palmas, my second favorite, and Went, my first favorite Brook Hill Rye. I think these are showstopper whiskeys. So I'm going to have a little sip of each of these to kind of round out the night. Heaven Hill 17 would be a good call. All right, last but not least, we're going to go from Domingo with one entry, which I do remember that being correct. Domingo's at the very, very top, kind of half cut off, down to Mike G, Jesse, Mike G. Clay is correct, and Phil is correct. So this is going to be the last round of confirmations here. Yeah, Phil was in for 2 entries. So basically from Domingo and Sam down to Jesse and Mike. All right. So a little Las Palmas here. My God, it smells so good. That blueberry note on Las Palmas is so amazing. Clay, that is hilarious. I'll put that on the screen here in a second. All right, no issues. I think we are good to go on this giveaway. So here's Clay's. Here's the comment from Clay. All right, so I'm going to now copy from this column. Look at the amount of entries. Oh, my good God almighty. 403. What is happening? So there's that. We're going to run this 7 times, and the top 5 winners need to send me their addresses. Yeah, Bobby, this is probably 2x a record night tonight. This is unbelievable. I don't even know what to say. So anybody that wins, whether you catch the replay or catch it right now, please email me, drumsanddrams@gmail.com, with your address, letting me know you won. Holy God. All right, here we go. Gosh, 1. 2. Jeez, 3. 4. 5. 6. Thank you guys so much. Nope, come on, scroll down. There we go. Here we go. 7. What do we got here? Please zoom in. There we go. Joseph Doherty. B. Walsh. Oh, wait. Is that Brian Walsh twice? All right. We might have a little conundrum here. I think that's Brian Walsh twice. I don't think there are 2 B. Walshes. But I will find out. At any rate, David Roback is on deck. For sure, David Roback is on deck. If that's the case, because no duplicate winners on these giveaways. So, guys, please, whoever won. Oh, completely different person, says B. Walsh. Oh, it's not. Oh, wow. That's crazy. Okay. No, I know. Listen, I trust you. I totally trust you. So Joseph down to Randall. Guys, please email me. Congrats. drumsanddrams@gmail.com. I'm going to take a picture of the screen so I remember everybody's names and make a quick note in my phone for tonight. So tonight is now it's the 13th, but it was the 12th. Long night. 1 is Limestone. 2 is DG Shorty. 3 is Evernorth. DD3. 4, which we added, is the Boulder. And 5 is the Russell's 10 ME. So there you go. Congrats, you guys. Joe, it's an and in the email. It's an and. Just like I wrote it. just like I promise, which will be this right here, Drums and Drams in the email. Thank you guys for all the support. Holy crap. Wow. Cheers. Thank you. It's an amazing whiskey, Las Palmas. And now for the final pour of the night. Killing this sample from Orlando. Thank you, Orlando, for all of these Brook Hill samples. Ah, the funk. The funk has hit. Dr. Kobe, let's do another hour. I still got whiskey. All right. Everybody, you guys are amazing. I appreciate you so much. And thanks for making this 10K celebration so much fun, so special, honestly, and supporting the channel the way you have. I'll see a lot of you in the Patreon. I will be at the Junkies. Well, I'm going up there tomorrow. I'll be there Monday morning. I'll be at New Holland later Monday, and I'll be in Lexington even later Monday. And then Tuesday, I'll be picking another barrel for us probably. If not, then just helping River Roots buy some of these 16-year barrels. And we've got great stuff on the way. Next week, we're dropping the Hard Truth and the Green River picks. 3 weeks later, we've got the 2024 Drums and Drams LE, plus another Evernorth barrel. So, amazing stuff. Cheers. Get a good night's sleep. Have a great Sunday. And I'll see you guys soon here on the channel. Thanks.